kids and to defund Disney. The protest was advertised as a church in front of the Disneyland resort in Anaheim, California. This is the second consecutive week that the organization has protested Disney. According to journalist and Turning Point USA FRONTLINES host Drew Hernandez, counter-protesters were unable to defend their position and continued to push false information regarding Florida's parental rights in education bill, which the left dubbed as the Don't Say Gay bill. Here is the entire footage from yesterday at Disneyland, California. Enjoy. Drew Hernandez here in Anaheim, California, in front of Disney, where there's an anti-Disney protest. It's called Hold the Line, where parents, Americans, sane-minded individuals are protesting Disney's opposition to a child grooming, an anti-child grooming bill. We're going to continue to follow them and talk to some of them right now. Let's see what happens.
Boycott Disney! Boycott Disney! Boycott Disney!
Do you support child grooming?
Really? I'm a suicide prevention trainer, so
Okay.
Exactly what those people out there are doing are actually hurting children.
So Disney opposing a bill in Florida that's meant to protect children from being sexually groomed?
Oh, no.
Do you support
No.
that?
Children. The bill in Florida actually hurts LGBTQ people.
No, it actually protects
No,
them.
actually it doesn't.
Yes,
so
the bill
I'm
is an
very
anti-child
involved.
grooming law.
No, it's not.
It's meant to give the rights
No,
to the
it's
parents
actually
so that a
not.
teacher can't have some kind of private
No,
sexualized conversation.
Yo, you're completely
Have you read the bill,
misled.
ma'am?
Yes, actually I have.
Okay, so is it a Don't Say Gay bill?
Yeah, actually it
Is the word gay in it?
It's actually ridiculous.
Is the word gay in it?
It's ridiculous.
Is the word gay in the bill?
It's ridiculous.
Is the word gay in the bill?
It's ridiculous.
You can't answer the question.
No, actually I can't
So
answer
you've read the
question.
bill, but you can't tell me if the
You're
word gay is in
Republican,
it.
aren't you?
Is the word gay in the bill?
No, it's not. So, but it is actually no. It's
So it's
not in
not.
the bill.
So it's not a Don't Say Gay bill. You're not making
Really?
any sense, ma'am.
No, actually, you're the
So
one
you
who's
said
not
it's a
making
Don't Say
any
Gay
sense.
bill, but now you're saying the word gay is not in the bill.
You're anti-LGBTQ when people are
No, I'm
killing themselves.
anti-child grooming. That's what
No,
I am.
no,
Because
no,
that
no.
bill is an
No,
anti-child grooming
It's actually
law.
not.
You haven't even read it.
Yes, I have, and I've told you before that I have.
You literally just said it's a
So,
Don't Say Gay bill,
It's
and now you're
exactly
saying
what
the
it
word
is.
gay is not in the bill.
It's anti-inclusivity.
Is the word gay or
It's
homosexual in the bill?
Anti-inclusivity.
Is the
And
word
you
gay
know
or
it.
homosexual in the bill, man?
It doesn't have anything to do with grooming children.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
It absolutely does. You haven't even read it. What's up, guys? Drew Hernandez here in Anaheim, California, in front of Disneyland at the Hold the Line anti-Disney protest. They're pushing back on Disney's decision to support child grooming. I'm here with the great Will Witt of PragerU. Will, Bob Chapek, CEO of Disney, has drawn a line in the sand. He made it very clear, I'll be a better LGBTQ ally, and we're going to do more to oppose this anti-child grooming law in Florida. What's your take on that?
Well, I was thinking about this today that, I'll talk to a lot of conservatives and they'll say, I don't think a lot of these elites actually believe what they're saying. They're just doing it for virtue signaling. And I'm starting to get the feeling that a lot of them actually do believe these things because they've gotten so deep into it. It's like, I don't know if you saw that new Fitbit watch commercial where it shows this like very overweight woman surfboarding and this guy, a man pole dancing and things. And it's like the only way that I feel like people can now be posting these types of things is if they really believe it, because it's gotten so absurd. For Bob Chapek to come out and say these things, he must really believe it. And that's sad that it's gotten into such a place that they've drank so much of their own juice that they now actually are pushing for it, because that's dangerous. It's dangerous that they feel their ideology and they actually believe it trumps what other people think or what the truth actually is.
And it's targeting innocence.
Right.
What would your message be? PragerU is very family-based, all the educational content that goes out. What's your message to parents that are watching this that like love Disney and they're like, we love it so much, it's so much a part of our childhood and so hard to let go? What would your message be to them right now?
Sometimes you have to let things go. There are many organizations, many things that I loved in the past, including Disney. I mean, The Lion King for me was my favorite movie growing up. I watched it like every single week, and I would still watch it, but the rest of the stuff that's going on at Disney, you can't support something like that. We can't be hypocrites. We can't say that, okay, if we're going to stand for truth and we believe in God or believe in these types of values, and then go and turn our back on it and say, well, I'm going to go buy all these Disney products and go to Disneyland, even though that money goes towards supporting all of the things that they're putting out to indoctrinate children. So just know that the truth is more important than the opinions of other people and the sacrifices that you'll make.
The mouse is a rat! 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 The mouse is a rat!
Disney has decided to draw their line in the sand. they oppose actually the anti-grooming bill in Florida. I'm actually here with one of the cast members of Disneyland. She's very outspoken. I've been wanting to ask you, what's going on behind the scenes with you? Are you receiving any backlash? Because the videos we posted of you last weekend, they went viral. People in the comments were like, oh man, she's probably going to lose her job. What's been going on with you? Have you received backlash? What's the situation?
Well, I actually haven't received backlash, but I'm already in a precarious situation with HR due to my religious vaccine exemption, so I'm already in limbo with the position that I was in. So it's just a matter of time whether or not they're going to decide to keep me on or officially let me go. But I haven't received any formal backlash, so I'm just kind of like waiting and checking my email and seeing.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is a minority we're dealing with, right? This LGBTQ community that wants to groom kids and do these things that are perverse to children. That's a minority group of people. The majority are actually sane-thinking people that do not want this happening. What's it like in Disney behind the scenes? Is it the same thing? Is there a majority? Are there more people inside that feel just like you? They're just afraid to come out because they don't want to get canceled? People like Gina Carano that took a stand got canceled. Is that happening behind the scenes?
Well, I actually haven't been, because they removed me from my role, I haven't been on property in a backstage capacity, but I do have a lot of cast member friends that write me regularly and they tell me thank you for what they're saying. And I would say majority of the people that work for the company, especially in the areas that I've been in, are normal, sane human beings that love their jobs, they love people, and they love each other. So, you know, I haven't really spoken to anybody that's inside because this has all happened so quickly. I mean, it's a week ago that I spoke for the first time about this publicly. I kind of outed myself as a conservative and a Christian, but I've been on the receiving end of a lot of positive feedback, which is awesome.
Yeah, and the internet has responded to you very well. You have a lot of support out there because it's not an easy thing to do right now. So Disney hasn't attempted to fire you or get rid of you or anything like that?
Like I said, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes with HR and what they've seen so far. I did see one response on one of my posts, which was an angry face from one of my managers. So I'm curious to see if that's going to affect whether or not they do bring me back, because they were going to accommodate me and my restriction, but we'll see.
You know, it's time to take a stand. We as parents have to protect our little ones and their minds and what they see. And this company and the LGBTQ movement has just gone so far beyond seeking equality. They're actually now pushing indoctrination. And we see it in their television, in their content. We see it in the amusement parks. And we're seeing it in books. And it's time to take a stand, because equality is one thing, but indoctrination and teaching these young children about sexual issues is totally inappropriate. Kids need to be kids, and they need to, you know, this park was developed so that kids could, you know, spark their imagination, not indoctrination, and we're here to fight back and take back this beautiful place.
Why do you think Disney is wanting to push this sexualizing propaganda on kids so heavily?
I think the LGBTQ community is so well funded, and I think there's so much ignorance about that particular platform. I think when it started out many years ago, they were fighting for equality, and but they've gone beyond that, and they've gone beyond that significantly. This is just, we've got evil. I mean, this is just an evil in the world, and I think that Satan has his roots, his hands over this nation and over this community, and the confusion that's out there is not from God. And I think that Disney's just falling in line with this well-funded LGBTQ.
I want to tell you guys, especially parents and you young people here as well, is a line definitely has to be drawn in the sand, because Disney drew their line. Disney has drawn their line. They've picked their side. They've decided to side with evil. It's not a don't say gay bill. It's a don't groom kids bill, and we are going to stand against it.
I'm here with one of the protesters right now. Brother, what's your response? Because Bob Chapek has drawn his line in the sand. He made it very clear. That secret video came out, and he's saying, I want to be a better ally to the LGBTQ community. We're going to do more to oppose this Don't Say Gay bill. It's an anti-child grooming law.
Absolutely.
What's your take on that?
You know, it's simple. He is doubling down because he has to. At this point, there's no going back. His stocks are in the dirt, so he might as well stay on that virtuous woke hill, right? But it's not going to succeed. We have to keep pushing like we are. We're going to protect our kids. No one's against an adult doing what they want to do in the privacy of their home. We might disagree with them, but we do it with love. But to go after kids, that's going to get people mad. He knows that's going to happen, and he can't go back now.
Absolutely. And, there's a lot of people that Disney is just such a fabric of so many childhoods and so many generations. They're multi-generational, right? Boomers, Gen X, millennials, the list goes on. What would your message be to those people that are like, it's so hard to let them go. We love them so much, but we should love our children more. What would your message be to them?
I mean, it's simple. You have to figure out what's the more important to you. Sitting on your couch and watching TV on Disney Plus, or protecting your kids from grooming and future generations. I don't have kids. Yeah, I'm out here. I was at Burbank. I was standing in the sun for hours protesting these things, even though I have no stake in the game yet. But it's about future generations. It's about caring for our kids now, even if they're not mine. And you have to draw that line in the sand, just like they did, and make sure that they know if they go woke, they're going to go broke. So sell your stocks. I sold mine at a loss. I'm worried about my future family, but I still rather lose that money than support their funding of the woke agenda. So you have to do it. I mean, there's no going back at this point. Either you draw the line in the sand or they're going to win. Simple as that.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to have children to care about children being sexually groomed by homosexuals, heterosexuals. It's crazy.
Borderline pedophiles, whatever they may be.
It's literally crazy. So what would your message be to Disney right now? They are on the wrong side of history. What's your message to them?
Well, I hope they find God. I hope they, just like the rest of society, find out what really matters, go back to their roots about providing quality entertainment for kids, and remember that the woke agenda, the LGBTQ mafia, the alphabet mafia, whatever you want to call them, they don't rule the world. Normal people, like we're seeing here at these demonstrations, care about children, they care about that normalcy and biblical values, and they don't need to push these things. Just let kids be kids. If you want to support them in private, sure, go ahead. But why groom? Grooming is never going to be the answer, and kids are where society will come out and protect them most.
Since the last time we talked, more videos have been leaked. CEO of Disney, Bob Chapek, he was exposed, saying he wants to be a better ally to the LGBTQ community. He's going to actually do more to oppose the anti-child grooming law in Florida. What's your message to him right now? Is he on the wrong side of history?
Yeah, I think he is on the wrong side of history. I actually wrote a letter to him 2 weeks ago, just specifically about that, like the inclusive vision that they have doesn't include everybody, and they really aren't listening to cast members who disagree with the inclusive message. I mean, everybody should be included. To all who come to this happy place, welcome is what Walt Disney said. But when all doesn't include a majority of people that don't agree with pushing this agenda, and we can be allies with each other. We can agree with each other. We can also disagree with each other and have civil conversations. But the Reimagine Tomorrow project that they're working does not include the other voice. It only includes one voice. When you have one voice, it's like a clanging cymbal.
Absolutely. A lot of people have grown up with Disney being a fabric of their childhood, and it's like almost depressing to have to let them go. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way. But what would your message be to people that feel that way? Is now the time to draw a line in the sand and just say, we're done. We're done with Disney. Our babies mean more than Disney.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's where I am personally. I have 4 nieces and a nephew. And if not now, when? If we don't take the stand, and it's like it costs something to make that choice, to risk it all and to let go of things that you love. I grew up here. I mean, I'm an Orange County kid, so Disneyland was my backyard and playground, even in high school. But when it comes to the future of all these little ones that I see walking around, or my nieces and my nephew, I just want to be a voice that encourages them that they can be who they are without having someone else tell them who they are. Because they need to discover that. And my line is drawn, but I think every other person has to get to that tipping point. And I'm hoping that more people start to hear and understand, because a lot of people just don't know what's going on because they're not looking for it. And if you're not looking for it, you're not going to see it. So until they know, they have to be told, like especially adults. But when they wake up to it, I think hearts are beginning to break and people are beginning to change, and tipping points are happening and people are crossing that line.
Well, I could say you are more inspiring than Snow White, Cinderella, Little Mermaid, all combined. Little girls should be looking up to people like you, a woman that stands for righteousness and what she believes. So continue to keep doing what you're doing. We're going to continue to talk to more people out here that are protesting Disney because they've drawn a line in the sand and they support child grooming. Drew Hernandez, stay tuned.
Boycott Disney. Boycott Disney.
Bob Chapek has drawn a line in the sand. He made it very clear that he's going to support opposing this bill in Florida. What's your response to that, and what's your message to him?
Well, it's a very unwise decision because there are more parents, there are more of us who want to protect our children than those who want to groom them for whatever he's got coming. I mean, the words that are coming out of the Disney heads, they're just outrageous. You know, we have raised our children watching Disney films for a long time, and we have seen the progression of how things have just unraveled. And it's gotten to the point where you just have to say enough. Enough is enough, and the mouse turned out to be a rat. And we have seen that. I mean, right before our very eyes, this mouse transformed, and he morphed into something that we did not buy into. So no, we're not going to stand and take it. We're going to fight back.
And Mickey was always the hero, now he's the villain, right? What's your message to parents out there that are watching this and they're like, we just love Disney so much and it's so much a part of the fabric of my childhood. I can't let go. What's your message to them to say now's the time to draw a line in the sand?
You have got to love your kids more than you love Disney, more than you love the mouse. You have got to fight for your children. They're going to take them away from you in one way or another. Not physically, but their minds are going to go. They're going to be damaged goods, and it's going to be our fault as parents if we don't stand up and do something about it. We have to fight as though we're fighting for our very lives. Our children are our very lives. So whatever parent says, you know, it doesn't matter, it's a fad, it'll go away, they're deluded.
It's not a don't say gay bill. It doesn't say that anywhere in there about don't say gay. What it is, we know what it is. What it is, hey, do not speak or push any sexualization or of any nature onto children. And within the bills, I believe it's till third grade or something like that. That's what it's about. It's about parents should do this. Parents should talk about their children, to their children, about anything that has to do with sexual orientation, anything to do about sexual anything. That's a parent's job. When Disney, and I work in the film industry, I work in Hollywood, I work on sets all the time. I've worked on Disney stuff. When they come in and then they start taking that woke Kool-Aid, what happens is it slowly turns into a sexualized thing. It starts from, oh, we just support LGBTQ to, hey, we want to put, like they said on camera, we want to put kissing couples, we want to put kissing men, two men kissing, or two women kissing in the background of our films. This is what she said on camera that works for Disney. It's going to go there, then it's going to go somewhere different that we don't want to go. It starts here. When places like Disney and schools and teachers think that they have the authority to push sexualization on children in any manner, that's when they're wrong. That's when we got to step in and say we're not going to stand for it.
Absolutely. So what would your message be to parents, people that have grown up with Disney? It's like the fabric of their childhood, and like it's so hard to let go. What would your message be to them right now?
The message is simple. We understand there's a lot of things that we enjoyed as children, but there's a lot of things that we enjoyed or we looked past in life before, and then we learned later that, hey, there's something not right about something, and then we stop doing certain things, whether it be, hey, sugar in excess is bad for me, whether it's certain foods, whether it's certain things we learn later, okay, we got to stop it because it's not doing good for my body. Okay, same thing with this. We find out later that, yo, those are fun movies and stuff, but once we find out that there's things behind it that we don't enjoy now, we got to make a decision. Do we keep supporting it or do we take back our dollar and take back our support from them? It's really that simple. Do not lose or give up what you experienced in your childhood watching these movies. They're great times, yes, but now we're at a point in time where we can't depend on what we felt before. We got to depend on what's happening right now and what will happen in the future if we don't stand up and say enough's enough, period.
Yes, enough is enough. The children mean more than Disney and childhood memories with Disney. They've got to. Drew Hernandez here in Anaheim, California, in front of Disneyland at the anti-Disney protest. We're going to continue to talk to more great people. Stay tuned.
The mouse is a rat. 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 The mouse is a rat.
I think there's a lot of misinformed people. I think people are quick to go on social media, see a headline of any article and be like, yes, that's what it is, when in fact that's what it's not. I think if more people understood what the bill is about, I think they would be more in agreement of it. But in fact, most people think it's just, don't say gay, I can't talk about being gay. But it's like, no, that's not it at all. It's just preserving the innocence of our children.
Money is a representation of your contribution to society. We are not contributing to this nightmare across the street. We're done with that. Every Christian online, cancel your subscription. Every single one of them. Stop funding this mess. They're not going to indoctrinate our children.
Do you think the bill that passed in Florida, excuse me, the bill that passed in Florida, do you think the people that are pushing this propaganda so heavily even read it? And if they have, why do you think that they want to change a child's gender makeup so heavily? Why do they want them to be part of this indoctrination?
I don't think that they've read the bill. I clearly, nowhere in the bill does it say the word gay. I think that whether you're gay or straight or Christian or atheist or Jew or Muslim, for you to think that your 5-year-old and 6-year-old in the kindergarten class should start having discussions about transgenderism or homosexuality is pushing a sexual agenda at an age where children are just still trying to figure out male, female, and the basics. They should be kids. They should be playing in a classroom. Their minds are growing and precious, and why do we need to have children understand or have discussions about these issues? It's just completely inappropriate on every level.
What do you think the solution is?
I think the solution is getting God back in the classroom and God back in the country and God back in our corporations. I think we need new leadership at Disney. This queer agenda is, they want to argue that this is all about equality. You know what? The LGBT, they have their equality. We've got changes in Title IX. We've got changes in our employment laws that are protecting people based on their sexual orientation. They've got their equality. What they're doing now is indoctrinating, and until people wake up and take a stand, it's going to continue to snowball.
I'm here with Sean Foyt. Sean, you've organized this thing. People are really starting to wake up to what's happening in their society. I mean, Bob Chapek has come out. He's drawn his line in the sand, CEO of Disney. He said, I want to be a better LGBTQ ally. He said, we're gonna do something to push back on the Don't Say Gay bill. It's an anti-child grooming law. What's your take on that? What's your response to him drawing his line in the sand?
Well, I think, we have to fight back, but yet we have to do it in a way that's strategic. And so I think that these things like tonight are amazing, but what a lot of people don't know is this sustenance behind what we're doing. The fact that we're launching petitions, the fact that we're launching boycotts, the fact that the Disney stock price has plummeted 50% over the last week. So you may look at this and think, oh, this is kind of just a rah-rah thing. No. This is the sound behind the movement that's taking place in America. People are waking up. You're helping with that. Turning Point's helping with that. People are rising up. And listen, this is an issue. We need to be on the right side of history on this.
Absolutely. And Disney is on the wrong side of history. Sean, what would your message be to parents right now that are like, Disney is such a fabric of my childhood and my growing up, and it's so hard for me to let go. I get depressed just thinking about it. What's your message to parents, anyone that's feeling that way right now?
Listen, the nostalgia is not worth the perversion of what they're pushing. You know, I love it too. I brought my kids there too. You know, we've grown up on the movies as well. But when you cross that line in the sand and you say that you are going to fight with others to groom our kids, it's over. That's when I draw the line, and I think every parent needs to rise up. Listen, we're called as parents to protect. If we can't protect the innocence of our kids, if we can't hold that line, then what line can we hold? So, you know, I want to encourage you guys out there. There are millions of Americans that feel just like this. There are millions of people, they do not want their kids sexualized. You're starting to hear their voice. It's going to increase. You're going to hear it more in the coming days.
Yes, there are more of us than there are of them. We have to protect our children. Drew Hernandez here in front of Disneyland at the Hold the Line Anti-Disney. They support child groomers. This is the protests that need to happen and continue to happen. Sean, are we going to get anything in Orlando, Florida, at Disney World?
It's in the works. It's got to be big, though.
Because right now is where you, as an individual, as an American, as a human being, you draw a line in the sand and you say, boycott Disney, boycott Disney, boycott Disney, boycott Disney, boycott Disney, boycott Disney. I'll leave you with that.
You need to boycott Disney. That's what you need to do. And what we need to do is actually support companies that support America and American values, like Good Ranchers. What if you could buy the food you need and support the TPUSA mission? Now you can with Good Ranchers. They sell 100% American meat, and they believe so much in what we are doing that they will donate $50 to TPUSA on your behalf with your purchase. Good Ranchers delivers steakhouse quality beef, chicken, and seafood to your door. And with our code TPUSA, you could donate $50 to our mission while getting absolutely delicious food. Head on over to goodranchers.com/TPUSA today to solve your meat problem and donate to us in the process. Boycott Disney. End Disney. They literally own everything. They own ABC. They own 80% stake in ESPN, Touchstone Pictures, Marvel, Lucasfilms. They own Pixar, Hollywood Records, 10% stake in Vice Media, Core Publishing, all these things that they own. We need to put a stop to it now. Cancel everything that Disney has their hands in. Hit them where it hurts in the pocket, because we should love our children more than you love Disney. And I know it's hard, but these are hard times. And when hard times come, it calls for men and women to take a stand and actually say no to evil people that want to groom children. So listen, I know you may have some seriously touching memories with Disney. You may love Disney. You may have had so many memories at Disneyland, a Disney movie, and it may mean so much to you, and you love them so much, and it's so hard to let them go. You should love your kids more than Disney. Let me say that again. You should love your kids more than Disney. You should love children more than Disney themselves, because obviously Disney does not love children any longer. Because now they're openly opposing something that's meant to protect the innocence of a child. Boycott, cancel Disney today. Love children more than Disney today. They are not the ones you should support right now. It's children that you should be supporting right now, because people like this, if you don't draw a line in the sand, they'll take it further and further and further. My name is Drew Hernandez. These are the Front Lines. TPUSA Live starts right now.
Appreciate it, Drew. I mean, Drew's everywhere, right? He's out in Disneyland. Now he's here at the studio. He's all over. But welcome to TPUSA HQ in Phoenix, Arizona. This is what we're covering today on TPUSA Live. First, Elon Musk is making a big push to fully take over Twitter and more on the Daily Briefing. Next, a good friend of the program, Dave Rubin, joins us to talk about his new book, Don't Burn This Country. Then a local flight attendant talks about her courageous stance against mask mandates that got extended a little bit more. Finally, we'll introduce you to the newest members of the Professor Watch List. Remember, they made it because they're the worst. Followed by a study and final report card on how states fared during the pandemic, and one last thing. Let's do this thing. TPUSA Live from HQ starts right now.
Authentic, unfiltered, grassroots content and conversation every weekday. Live from Phoenix, Arizona at the Turning Point USA headquarters, this is TPUSA Live.
Well, you know, there's always shenanigans going on when I'm trying to do the rundown here for TPUSA Live when Jobob's in town.
I don't know what you're talking about, John.
Jobob is a model citizen.
Yeah.
I got you, bro.
Yeah.
And
for those of you who don't know, John survived his very first physical altercation with him trying to read the prompter.
Yeah,
I actually touched him. Usually I'm just on the side like making funny faces trying to distract him, and you did good, John.
I appreciate that.
We're gonna have to up the ante.
I like to say anytime I'm reading the prompter, nothing phases me at all. Jobob, a TPUSA contributor and indecent toucher.
Wow.
Whoa.
Okay.
Man, do you work for Disney?
Woo!
Oh,
Spicy start.
Drew,
to
come get him.
Burn marks all over me.
We got Drew back there too. Watch out, all right? Drew might come back.
I'm a little bit scared.
We'll get Sheriff Lamb to take him away.
Sheriff Lamb too.
Yeah.
You're on thin ice, brother.
Oh no.
Debra Lea is back too, TPUSA Ambassador, social media superstar. Third and final day.
I know. I'm sad to be leaving, but I'm really excited to be here for this group of people today. Little shenanigans.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
You're ready. You've eased into it until the crazy hit today.
And then TPUSA contributor Isabel Brown. What a sweater.
Thanks.
Little Nashville?
Yeah, we love Nashville. Jobob and I are going to Nashville together
Tuesday
to rise up some shenanigans on Candace next week.
I feel like we're talking
fun.
a big game here.
I know,
we
but we're not actually
like,
going to do anything.
Show up and
we
show
also
out.
informed people you were getting some sun when I guest hosted for you on Monday. I like this new do. It's very Hawaiian Beach Boy vibes. Any comment on your new hairstyle?
Wow. And the cultural appropriation.
I don't know, dude. Like, I feel like super chill ever since I came back from Hawaii. No, it was a lot of fun. It was great. Appreciate you jumping in and
Yeah, it was
listening,
great.
too.
Super fun. We wish we were in Maui instead, too. But
Yeah,
no, it's
right.
fine. Yeah.
It's so funny. For me, like, obviously don't do good with the sun. But when I go out there, I'm like, you know what? Darn, I forgot my sunscreen again.
Oh, boy. Johnny,
Yikes.
Johnny,
And then
Johnny,
I guarantee you, my dad watching this show is like, I've been trying to tell that guy for 30 years. All right, we got big news in the daily briefing, though. Elon Musk, he's saying just this little, like, plus 9% in the company. I want 100. He's talking about he wants to buy 100% of Twitter in cash. I know.
For well above market value, too. I think that's very important to know.
Oh, yeah. So he posted this letter to Twitter. We're going to show on the screen right now. And Disclose TV obviously shared a lot of this as well. Part of that is saying here, I invested in Twitter as I believe it is a potential to be a platform for free speech around the globe, and I believe free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy. He obviously had a lot more to say, but he was getting into this aspect of, I feel like Twitter was thriving when it was a private company. So he's trying to make Twitter thrive again? Should we sell t-shirts and hats for that?
Can you imagine how cool it would be to be a billionaire and like everything is on the table at all the time?
Yeah.
Like he's just like, I want to buy this social networking platform, and he actually has the ability to do it. And also,
kind of. There's caveats to that. So as of this afternoon, new news is coming out that's saying he may or may not actually be able to borrow that exact lump sum of money to that degree from his financial investment and management people. So it's actually not necessarily like handing somebody his own cold hard cash, obviously. And so there's financial implications associated with that, but Twitter's obviously now just scrambling to do everything they can to not make this
it's
happen.
hilarious to see the left freak out about it because remember their whole thing this entire time when it came to censoring speech was, well, it's a private company. And Elon Musk is like, yeah, it's a private company that I'm about to own. Which also, mind you, I feel like Elon Musk is a hilarious billionaire. I feel like we should have more hilarious billionaires. If I were a billionaire,
I agree.
If I were
Like
a billionaire,
Tony Stark.
I would buy the NBA and make them play in skirts just because I could. But Elon Musk, fortunately, is using his money for good, maybe. But did you realize what he's buying it for? The dollar amount per share?
Wait a second, though. You want the NBA players to play in
I
skirts?
caught that too.
No, yeah. If I were a billionaire, I would do something ridiculous like that. It would be hilarious.
Another reason to work at Disney.
Elon Musk. You are a sick man. Go on.
Elon Musk is offering to buy Twitter at $54.20. $4.20. Because that's Elon Musk's sense of humor. He is a 12-year-old boy trapped in a billionaire's body.
Pretty much. I have a lot of things to say about this. I've seen some interesting feedback this morning from people in all walks of the political spectrum, including a lot of conservatives that came forward on Twitter and said this would be a really bad situation because Elon Musk isn't a real conservative, whatever that means.
no.
I don't think he was ever pretending to be a conservative, but I think this really circles back, not to sound like Jen Psaki, to a lot of the conversations we've had in the last several weeks about the conservative movement really needing to build a coalition of people that we share some common values with with and not every single value all the time with, because this would be a huge win for conservatives. I don't know how people somehow can't see that, or they do, and yet it's still not enough because you need somebody who shares all of your values to own these companies all the time. I don't know. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, our friend Kongman Lee had a pretty fire take on this on Twitter. He said that this would be the first time a major tech platform is owned by an African-American immigrant. So I think that's really something we should be celebrating and drawing attention to.
It's spot on, but I think there's times where if it was just a, bless you, by the way, out there, we're right by some other people that work here at TPUSA, so you got to say bless you. There's this aspect of, we had someone that was just a staunch conservative. I don't think it would have gone over as well as people think that Elon Musk taking over could. Because basically it's going down to Section 230 again. It's like, is it a publisher or is it a platform? I think he's stuck on this idea that obviously we want to protect people. And there's violence out there, like get rid of the Taliban would be a good start to get rid of that violence and hate. And that's actually violence and hate, is this understanding of you should be able to talk about what you want to talk about and get out of this whole microaggression nonsense and allow people to just express themselves on a platform. Because they've been acting like a publisher. It's clearly gone against Section 230.
Now, do I still think this will save Twitter? Probably not. Twitter's been on the decline for a very long time. No, like honestly, who spends all of their time on Twitter these days? No one.
Final thing I'll say here is some of the offer details was obviously he wants to buy 100% of Twitter, trying to find the cash for that, but it would be $54.20 per share in cash, 54% premium over the day before I began investing in Twitter, and a 38% premium over the day before my investment was publicly announced. So he's saying that.
I mean, this is like somebody coming to you and offering you a $500,000 job offer when you're making like $30K. It's a really big deal
to sell. Like that's what it is. The board has to sell.
Also, one other thing before we go to commercial break, and then we got our good friend Dave Rubin that's going to come on. So J.K. Rowling said in 2009, Dumbledore's gay.
Great. That was what I was missing from the Harry Potter
you were definitely
series.
missing that. But there's, I guess, been a few minor edits for their new Fantastic Beasts about Dumbledore right there. The secrets of Dumbledore. I guess the secret's out. He's gay.
Well, that secret's been out for a while, John.
And so I guess there were some minor edits they made for their Chinese release. So it sounds like they're kind of catering to them, and sounds like America's like, do your thing, JK.
The way I heard this was actually the opposite. The Chinese government was basically like, no, we have to remove any aspect of being gay from the movie. I could be wrong. It could be up front the publisher of the movie doing so. But, of course, you'll never hear about the don't say gay people freaking out about this, only when it literally has nothing to do with not saying gay. Just a thought.
But Disney, go ahead and make that live action Mulan when right over the fence there's genocide happening. Good work, everybody. All right, Dave Rubin's going to be next right after this message about YWLS.
And I hope you're filled with courage and conviction, clarity, and a little bit of wisdom. Know that we at Turning Point USA, we have your back.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. We got TPUSA contributor Jobob, TPUSA contributor Isabel Brown, TPUSA Ambassador Debra Lea. We're going to have Dave Rubin join us in just a second, but if you haven't gotten tickets for YWLS already, make sure you do that, tpusa.com/YWLS. You can use promo code Isabel.
John, you're so sweet.
But you should use promo code John. No doubt. Or Jobob, I guess.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. I'm sitting over here too. That's fine.
It's fine.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's
cool.
All right, but we got to get our friend Dave Rubin on. We're going to talk about his book that's also in the background of this beautiful shot we got here, but in my hand as well. Don't Burn This Country. Something we've been asking for a long time. Surviving and thriving in our woke dystopia. Welcome to TPUSA Live, Dave. Good to have you back.
It's good to be with you guys. It's nice to come on after that promo for YWLS because those chicks are having fun. When I was watching it, I was thinking, like, if you had a leftist college group of girls, like, could they be having fun? Is that a thing that they have? They don't have fun, right? It's just misery and blue hair and fighting.
Yep.
There's nothing good going on there.
You know, I went to one of those in college, Dave. It was horrible.
Yeah, I think it's a full weekend of just a bunch of RBFs. And I'm sure our viewers know what that means. But tell us a little bit more about your book, Dave. Obviously, it's another book that's so important for our time, and we're trying to get through this woke dystopia. We're trying to figure out what are the tools and resources we can do to fight back against this, because the fight's at our doorstep.
Well, it's kind of connected to the Elon Musk story that you guys were just doing, because, you know, we can all mock the woke and we can expose them and we can call them hypocrites and all of that stuff. And we've all been doing that for years. But the truth is they've just kept moving, right? I mean, they've just kept taking over the institutions. They've destroyed our cultural institutions and our corporate institutions. Look at Disney. You guys know they've obviously destroyed all of our educational institutions. So for as much pushback as we've had on them, we actually haven't stopped them. Now, Turning Point and, you know, what a whole bunch of us do has been good to expose it, but that actually isn't enough anymore. And that really was the purpose of the book, that there are things that you can do in your life to disconnect from these people and build new things. That really is what this is about, that you do not have to go to a 4-year college and get $150,000 into debt to take a major in lesbian dance theory and then have no skills and a lot of debt. You don't have to do it. The machine wants you to do it, but you don't have to do it. You can start building new tech or building new businesses. You don't have to send your kids to schools where they're going to be brainwashed intergender theory or a whole bunch of other stuff. You guys were talking about the nonsense Don't Say Gay bill, which could have just as easily been called the Don't Say Straight bill, because the word gay is not in there, and it's about not talking to 6-year-olds about sex and then not being able to, keeping that quiet from their parents. I mean, the whole thing is just ridiculous. So this really is about, let's just disconnect from these people at this point and let's build a better society. And I think there's ways to do it. And that's why the Elon Musk thing is so cool. That's why everyone's talking about it today, because it's like, here's a guy who could literally do anything. There is nothing on Earth, this man, and not just Earth, basically in this galaxy, that this man could not do, right? He could spend his time doing anything. If he wanted to build a rocket ship today to just take his family and spend the rest of his life on a rocket ship on the way to Mars, he could do that. He literally took a Tesla. He builds the coolest car ever, and then he shot one into space just for the hell of it. Like, the guy could do anything. And what did he decide to do? He decided to kind of do the most dangerous thing, which is get into the fight for free speech and potentially, get some of this backwards big tech stuff fixed. So that's one man. He's just one man. He's an individual going against the machine, and that's really what this is about.
Dave, hey, good to be talking to you again. Global intergalactic superstar Dave Rubin. Hey, you talk a lot about what the woke mob is in your book. Can you kind of expand on that? Because we talk about trashing wokeness. What is the woke mob, though? How do you define it? Because it doesn't seem like they're coalescing around any one particular thing. They're kind of all over the place and they're scattered. In your opinion, what is the woke mob if we have to destroy it?
Yeah, well, I think that's a feature, not a bug. The fact that we can't point to one person and say, this is the leader of the woke mob. They love the fact that it's this amorphous thing that exists online and it moves around like this evil robot that you can't quite see and can't quite define. What it is, in essence, is the thing that is keeping us all from saying the things that we want to say. Now I say the things that I want to say. It's come with a cost at some points in my life, and it's not always the funnest thing, because people do say mean things to me online sometimes, and I have no doubt that people say mean things to you guys online sometimes, but it is the force that exists mostly on social media, but now has sprung up into corporate structures that stops people from being the best person that they could be. So the Disney thing is a perfect example of this. We all know the examples that happen online. When you say something, you say, okay, there's a difference between men and women. Next thing you know, you're being mobbed online. So we all know that version. So get rid of that. But look what's happening at Disney right now. You got this CEO. His name is Bob Chapek. Now, I don't know his full resume, but to be the CEO of Disney, you have to have a pretty good freaking business resume, right? You have to know how to close deals. You have to know how to acquire companies, et cetera, et cetera. But what is happening to this guy who should be one of the most powerful executives in the world? He is bowing to a bunch of activists at his company because he allowed Disney to get a diversity, equity, and inclusion department in there. He's bowing to the LGBTQI/LMNOP group, and he's actually going to live on his knees forever, or for at least as long as he remains the Disney CEO. And that's what this mob is. It takes good otherwise good people who are productive people and turns them either into fearful, afraid of their own shadow characters, or much worse, often then they end up joining the mob and destroying other people who don't deserve to be destroyed.
Dave, you pointed out how Elon's potential move to purchase Twitter would be a dangerous one. And I like that word in particular because cancel culture has escalated so significantly in the last few years, not just to the point that you'll lose friends or have a post deleted off your social media account, but you could lose your voice in modern society. You can lose your bank account. You could lose your job. There are real ramifications to getting involved in some of this. How did we get here, and do you continue to see that evolve in the future of America?
Well, we got here because not enough good people stood up. I mean, we got here because we all became fat and basically stupid on goodness. America's been so good for so long and done such an extraordinary job of freeing so many people and became so successful. And all of us here are so much more successful than our grandparents and great-grandparents that we became lazy. It's as simple as that. Go watch, I mean, dare I quote a Disney movie, but watch the movie WALL-E. And that's basically what's going on here. We're in half WALL-E, half Idiocracy. And in the movie WALL-E, you know, it's this futuristic movie where all of these people, they basically sit in these robotic chairs all day. They get fed all day long. They get all the TV they want, and they lose their drive to be humans. And ultimately in the movie, they do fight back. Now, it's funny that that comes from Disney, which has become an evil character from a Disney movie. That's what Disney is right now. It's the evil corporation from one of their very own stories. So it happened because we're successful, and good times create weak men, and then weak men create bad times, and then bad times create strong men. That's how it works. We've been so good for so long. We've had it so easy for so long that we forgot what we fought for. I mean, I have no doubt if I asked all four of you what your grandparents' life was like, it's far worse than what your life was like. Both of my grandfathers fought in World War II. That's a hell of a lot harder than what I'm going to have to do in my life for whatever pain points that I have in my life. So we have to just remember, man, there's been something good here, but, you know, as they always say, it's only one generation from going away, and we're pretty damn close to that right now.
Yeah.
And speaking of men, though, I think you get thrown in jail, Twitter jail, if you say that Rachel Levin and Leah Thomas are a man. So if I had a chance to talk to Elon Musk, I'd say there is no lie in that tweet that put me in Twitter jail. So I'd love to have a little conversation with Elon to say, first move, obviously get the big dogs in there. And then once you get to the little fish like me, I wouldn't mind getting back on the platform.
Oh my gosh.
But I know
well, they are biological men.
Yes.
They're biological men. That's just reality. Leah Thomas, I mean, one of the other girls in the locker room, Leah has male genitalia. I don't know how you would describe a man besides that. That's just reality. But guys, I know you know this, but it's so messed up that unless something has happened in the last couple hours that I don't know about, Tucker Carlson has been suspended on Twitter for the last 3 weeks or so, basically, for just saying that. Charlie Kirk, I think you guys know Charlie Kirk. He has been suspended on Twitter for saying that, just that. Babylon Bee, et cetera, et cetera. So Elon Musk, the reason it's dangerous is that this is not a fight that the opposing team takes lightly, and he's willing to get in on this. That's why they're freaking out right now, because they cannot believe that a guy who doesn't have to get in, who has the resources that he has, that has done so much cool stuff, Tesla, SpaceX, the Boring Company, he's building tunnels under Los Angeles to help with traffic. Like, he's doing so many extraordinary things. He does not need this. And he was like, no, there's something to do here and I'm going to do it. And that's why they're freaking out. And suddenly they're all against private ownership of things. You know, yesterday they all loved it. Now they're freaking out.
Yeah. So Dave, speaking of private ownership, I think we're all grateful for Elon Musk getting in the circle and helping us get back our rights. But for other companies like Disney and anybody else who has bent to the mob, do you ever see them coming back? Is there a point that they're going to realize that they've gone too crazy and they need to walk it back? And if they do, is there even a path for them, or do we just have to kiss these companies goodbye forever?
No, they're going down. It's the core implosion. It's the core implosion. Here, I'll give you a story from another thing that Disney ruined, Star Wars. Remember The Force Awakens, when the planet's melting down?
Yes.
The planet's melting down in the the first of the new crappy movies. The core has begun to implode in these things. Once they bring in wokeism, it's a parasite in the system. It's a virus in the system. And a virus spreads and spreads and spreads. And what's a virus? A virus is very easy to catch and very hard to get rid of, right? And once it's in, it takes out everything. That's why it's so pathetic watching the Disney CEO, because this is a guy who does not need to bow to these activist employees. If he had any sense, he would have gone to that original meeting and said, whoa, what's going on here? First off, I'm not the governor of Florida, so I don't know that I have to actually comment on a bill in Florida. That's number one. What does that have to do with our core competency here at Disney, which I thought was to create content for kids and for families? But he refused to do that, and now he's a hostage. And once you go in on somehow he's basically saying, I'm a guilty straight white guy, and you guys are trans, bisexual, pansexual, whatever you are, you're somehow better than me, I have to bow to you. There's nothing he can do. I'm not kidding. I think this could take down Disney. I don't mean that means Disney will not exist in 3 years, but I canceled my Disney Plus thing. I know a lot of other people have. I know a lot of parents right now are saying, hey, I don't want to take my kids to Disney and spend money on this overpriced nonsense. So, they have a real problem on their hands. And by the way, at the same time, guys, I mean, what's happening? Daily Wire just announced they're putting $100 million into kids programming. PragerU has all these kids cartoons now. So the alternate systems are being built as we speak.
Yeah, I love people just taking action too. I think that's what you're about, Dave, is you're not just going to complain about this. You're not going to just put out a book and hope that people read some great words. It's like, no, this is the tools and resources to fight back. But when people buy the audiobook or buy the physical book, what do you want people to get out of it?
I want them to get out of it that you have a chance. You have a chance, but that's what you have. And if you don't take your chance, you only get so many of them. But especially if you're watching Turning Point Live, it's like you are young, you are strong, you have a moment without all the responsibilities in the world, probably without a mortgage, maybe without a car payment, without a spouse and a dog and all that stuff. And if you do not say what you think now, if you do not do what you think you are supposed to do, it will never get easier. If you think that suddenly you're going to be 32 and after 15 years of not saying what you think and not telling your teachers what you think and not telling your friends what you think and just taking the easy path, if you think at 32 you're going to magically go, hey, world, this is what I think about everything, man, you are long gone. You've already signed your death warrant. So you must say what you think. You know what you should also do? You should go see Dave Rubin, who's going to be on tour. And I'm going to be on tour right in the heart. You guys can all come. I'll hook you guys up all with tickets. And that Charlie Kirk guy is going to join me on stage in Arizona on, what's the date there? I even wrote it down. May 16th. I'm going to be at the Tempe Improv. Charlie Kirk's going to intro me. I think Blake Masters, who's going to be the next senator from the great state of Arizona, is going to be there. And I'm touring all month with Donald Trump Jr. and Megyn Kelly and Larry Elder and Dennis Prager and a bunch of other people.
Boom. It's in the schedule. We'll see you there on May 16th, but really appreciate you joining us. And everybody, please buy Dave's book. It will definitely inspire you to fight against the woke dystopia that we're all in. Dave, thanks so much.
I'll see you guys in AZ.
All right, everybody, we got an amazing conversation coming up with a courageous flight attendant who's doing whatever she can with other flight attendants, pilots, and anybody else that would like to help end these mask mandates on airplanes. But first, we got a little message from our friends at Patriot Mobile.
Yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Abortion, I salute you! Women, if you need an abortion, get one!
You said police defund!
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on to the next generation. Activate freedom. Join Patriot Mobile.
Hey everyone, welcome back to TPUSA Live in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona at TPUSA HQ, the mecca for young conservatism. This is the place to be to get the truth. Isabel Brown, Jobob, we got Debra, and we got Stacy Laval.
Hi, how are you?
Experience, I'm doing great.
Nice to be here. Thanks
So
for having me.
glad that you're here because you are a part of Americans Against Mask Mandates. You've been a flight attendant for a long time, and we all called it. We figured that mask mandates would be extended more. I think this is the fourth time now, but tell us a little bit more about your experience and what you're doing to fight back against these.
Trying to do anything I can, basically. One of the things I'm doing with 8 other flight attendants in 6 other states with 6 other airlines is we're filing a lawsuit against the CDC to stop the mandate and prohibit them from doing it again, because obviously it's not going to stop until we the people stop it and take action. So that's what I'm trying to do.
From inside the employee base of a lot of these airlines, are the same conversations happening with the frustration over masks and COVID protocols that we're just not seeing?
Absolutely. We don't like it any more than anybody traveling does, and we want it to go away as quickly as possible. There's been a lot of division amongst employees and within our airline and other airlines, and it's very frustrating because you have those that, like me, where I try not to enforce it as much as possible, but then you have those that want to enforce it constantly and incessantly, and the passengers don't like it.
Is that because they like power, or do they actually think it's doing something?
Probably a little bit of both.
Okay.
Napoleon complex. So I'm curious. So when you're on the plane, right, and you're not wearing your mask, and the people walking around, I don't know where I'm going with this. I had a train of thought in my head, and then I'm going to catch back up to it. Yeah, it's completely gone now.
That's hypoxia right there.
Oh no, okay, so that's back on track here. So is there a possibility that the airlines themselves just defy all the CDC orders? Like, if they all did, what actually happens? Do you know? And is there a possibility of that happening?
We would love to see that happen. We just don't know if that's going to happen because most of us know that most of the airlines, if not all, have taken money with all of this COVID pandemic. So the chances of them just stopping it is probably slim to none, although there was a letter, I believe in March, that a majority of airline CEOs sent to President Biden asking him to stop this, and nothing's happened of that. So they're fighting it, probably not as much as we would like to see.
Know what I'd like to see is it's supposed to end. It was supposed to end on Monday, April 18th.
Yeah.
If you're going to the airport, just don't wear a mask. Like, just actually come together and just say, "This is not."
I haven't heard. What? I thought it was over.
Oh shoot! Like the last thing I read was April 18th. I think people should do that, and obviously, like, they can do it in a peaceful way and just say,
"Great idea."
This idea.
Power in numbers.
What? It's another 15 days to slow the spread? We've heard that before.
That'll stop it.
Yeah, thanks, Lord Fauci. That's really going to do it again. Because it seems like, once again, this is about compliance. This has nothing to do with science or data. This is all about just having some sort of governmental power.
Absolutely. And it's posing a safety risk for not only employees, but for passengers as well, because you're already in an oxygen deficient environment. And now you're wanting to put a mask on, which is going to impede even further oxygen. And what happens in a safety emergency where you want me to be healthy and breathing oxygen and trying to keep me from having symptoms of hypoxia? And symptoms of hypoxia include confusion, loss of consciousness. Do you want me as a first responder coming to your aid if I'm already in an oxygen deficient environment with a mask on my face? That's a huge safety risk.
I'm curious if they've refilmed those videos. You know the videos when you get on a plane where it's like, the mask drops down, put on yourself before you have
Yes, they have.
They've remade it, take your mask off before you put a new mask on.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Because people actually need to be told that, apparently.
Yeah, because otherwise it'll be like, I can't breathe, where's the oxygen? My K95.
If you have 3 masks on and then the rest of your family has 3, so take the 3 off and then you put that one on and then you help them take the 3 off. It's just like,
it bothers me how little they're following, because at this point we know 100% surgical masks only stop like 10% at most. University of Waterloo confirmed that up in Canada. But if we really wanted to stop it, then the airlines would be enforcing N95 masks. That's what my campus did for college. They said that no other mask will work. You have to wear this. Okay, at least you could pretend that you're trying to stop COVID, but I wear the mesh mask on the flight. I'm there breathing happily. Don't tell TSA, anybody I'm flying back tomorrow. Keep this a secret, guys. But
TSA's
I post about that all the time. Something down on my do not fly list.
People who work at the airline that rhymes with Schmaus Schmest, who also wear the mesh mask.
And they don't know, and I'm just there enjoying myself.
I get so many DMs and emails and messages from flight attendants, actually, who are just equally as frustrated by all of this. And it takes me back to early on during the pandemic when nobody was flying. For example, I went and moved out of my apartment that I had abandoned in D.C. in like 2 days with my dad, and we flew from Denver to Washington, D.C. We were the only people on the flight. We were the only passengers. It was us and the flight crew. It was really interesting. Very, very like a post-apocalyptic feeling. But I remember at that time they were trying to get people back on planes because the industry was suffering so much, and they were reminding everyone, well, this is maybe the safest place you could be because we're cycling in fresh air all the time and everything's really filtered and safe and careful. Are they telling you as employees different things month to month in terms of following the science?
It's interesting because what they're telling us originally it was to enforce the masks on planes, and we're not mask police. And now what some of the policies are with major airlines are inform, not enforce. So again, it goes back to what your thought was on just don't do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. If you need oxygen to breathe, breathe. The TSA safety advisory that is out does list on page 3, footnote 7, that if you need oxygen, if you're feeling winded, if you're feeling short of breath, if you're vomiting, they have to put that in writing, take your mask off.
Really?
So if you need oxygen, if you feel like
If you're
you are
vomiting,
short of breath,
you need to be told to take your mask off.
Right.
We got that on the
Don't
screen
catch
right
it in
now.
there.
Yeah. People who-
Interesting that they bury that on page 3.
Right?
Interesting. I think I identify as vomiting. So I'm curious from a flight attendant standpoint, if you have rules that people aren't following, does it make it more difficult to enforce the rules that actually matter? Because there are rules on planes that people should follow.
Right.
But if they have rules that they're just like, we don't really care about that, does it make it harder for you to enforce other rules?
Like putting your seat
Sure.
back up?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Putting the seatbelts
Tray
on.
tables up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It does.
because people
Yeah.
are like, well, that guy's not wearing a mask, so I don't need to wear a seatbelt. Well, that guy's not wearing a seatbelt, I can stand during the flight. And if I can stand during the flight, I can dance during the flight. Where does it? I'm curious. That's interesting.
Yeah, we've seen that, and we've seen. I'm sure you've heard chaos in the skies with people that are fed up with it and they don't want to listen.
do they
and
care about
don't-
your safety?
Exactly.
Because that rubs me the wrong way because I am somebody who does not enjoy wearing a mask, but I've seen other people get extremely violent about it. I'll just be like, okay, whatever, I'll put it on. And then the second you walk away, but there's people who will scream, curse you out, get physically reactive. Have they ever spoken about that or even taken into consideration that now, not being paid extra, you have to risk your safety by enforcing rules that you don't even necessarily believe in?
Well, and I think that's why they came out with the inform, not enforce, because they were seeing a number, and there's probably over 500 incidents that we have not heard of, of issues on aircraft in relation to masks, and people are getting fed up with it. And I think what a lot of it is you have those that are so passionate towards wearing the mask that they are pushing people over the limit. They're tired of it. They're fed up with it. They don't want to hear it. They hear about it everywhere they go. Then they get on the plane and they're making, I don't know how many announcements about it. People don't want to hear that. They don't need to hear it. And it's those people, in my opinion, that are getting hurt and that are getting assaulted because they're incessant about it.
We talk about real health and safety. I think this puts you guys in a dangerous situation because you don't know who's going to be on the flight. You can have unruly passengers already before all this mask nonsense, and then who knows what kind of day, what kind of year or years people have had. A lot of people haven't seen their family members' graduations. They haven't been there for funerals. They haven't been there in the hospital. And then who knows what's going to send them over the edge. And you could just be there just trying to do your job, and it puts you in harm's way.
It does. And it's really sad. One thing that came to mind when you said that is it's really sad is when I'm working, I don't push it. If I have to inform it, I will. I try not to, but again, I'm trying to do my job and keep my job. But I'll walk down the aisle to collect trash or take drinks, and there'll be people eating with their masks off, and they're so conditioned, and it's so sad that they right away put them. I mean, I don't even say anything. They're eating, and the minute they see me come down, they're like.
I felt that in New York. You
so
kind of just want to
it's
avoid
terrible.
it. People
It's
get so
awful.
crazy.
And again, I wish people would just stop. If you're eating, you're drinking, you're fine.
Interesting.
Or vomiting.
Or apparently, or need an oxygen mask to breathe in a situation of an emergency.
fainting on the floor.
What do you think this looks like for the future of recruiting for the industry? Do you think people are less likely to want to pursue a career as a flight attendant or as a pilot because of just how crazy things have gone?
I don't think so. I don't see it. And we're hiring in record numbers.
That's great.
It's crazy.
That's
so
really
it is.
good to
It's
hear.
great because we're very busy, and it's nice to see that so many people are traveling and the airports are jam-packed, which is great to see. So it doesn't seem to be. I hope it's not.
Good.
That's good to hear, especially with like the defund the police movement that had such a problem and reduction of people who wanted to enroll in the police academy and all of that. So it's really nice to hear that because at this point, the only job the government has destroyed a lot of job fields for people, and the one that we're all being pushed towards is just homesteading and farming. So I'm happy with it, but I'm glad that people are still joining because we need pilots. We need to get around on flights.
Right.
And then people want to know how they can help because you have a Facebook page, and I know that's titled Americans Against Mask Mandates. So if you're on Facebook, Dad, if you're listening, make sure you go and follow that. And there it is right there. Make sure you join that group. That's a great way to stay updated. And as you can see, it's over 600 members. And then you You also have a GoFundMe as well, because this comes with a cost, not only emotionally and spiritually. It's a financial cost. There's up to $400 to $500 to file each case, and about $125 to serve the defendants. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. So the GoFundMe page that is listed, or that I provided, is organized by Lucas Wall, and he's organized and has been a great team member in helping us get these cases to court and filed, and doing all of the paperwork and all of the online work that's involved. So the GoFundMe just asks for donations for those helping. It's not just for our case. There is a pilot case that filed against the CDC as well. I believe there's 14 other cases, and I can't remember the number of plaintiffs as well, but he's also helping people that have disabilities that can't wear masks on a plane, that are now on the no-fly list. So he's helping with those cases as well. So that's what this money goes to, not just the airline employees, but those with disabilities that absolutely can't wear it, and that the airlines have no consideration for.
And for GoFundMe, you guys can search Help End Federal Transportation Mask Mandate. That's what you can search there. Definitely donate, because I think this is an amazing cause, and you're on the front lines. We constantly talk about how college students are on the front lines there. They're tabling. Debra shared her story about that. You even see Drew Hernandez, it's been on the front lines. And a lot of us have just been out there, but we think of a situation like the mask mandate. We don't like wearing those as passengers, but you've had to deal with this for years, and this has been your livelihood. You've been a part of this industry for over 7 years, and you clearly don't want to lose your job, but you want to stand up for what's right.
Right, absolutely. I love my job. I love who I work for. I love the people I work with, the passengers. It's just a great opportunity, a great career, and it's just very frustrating when we are forced to go through this and then are expected to enforce it as well. So,
Final thing for you: how would you encourage other flight attendants to stand up and do what's right? Because obviously and clearly it's a very difficult thing to stand up against these big corporations, these big airlines, and a lot of people on the woke left that are trying to tell you you're doing something morally wrong.
yeah, I would just say just get involved and network with your fellow crew members. Network, get involved, exchange numbers. There's Telegram pages that we're on to help with frustration and what we can do to fight back. Social media, I have a different following on Instagram now, I think, because of the things I post and some of the very true and sometimes ugly truths that I post about what's going on. But I would just say stay strong, continue fighting the fight, speak up, call your representatives, make your voice heard, because that's what it is. It's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease, right, and the ones that's heard. So if we just continue to fight back and speak up, hopefully we'll make change.
Stacey, I really appreciate you. And I think we're going to look back on this and be like, because of people like you, we're able to get out of this tyranny and actually be able to live our lives and have some freedom. Once again, I want to make sure people remember this. GoFundMe, help end federal transportation mask mandate. It doesn't matter if you're donating $1, $5, whatever. Anything helps to make sure that we can end these mask mandates. And also the Facebook group, we'll try to throw that up one more time too. Americans Against Mask Mandates. Make sure you join that group. And on Monday, if you're flying, take the mask off. Come together, and there's strength in numbers. You two, I'm talking to you, and everybody
I'm going
listening.
tomorrow, and the day that it does drop, thanks, Stacey. Remember?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much, Stacey. Appreciate you. We're going to have a quick message about our big event, Student Action Summit, that's coming up soon. Stacey, thanks for joining us. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you.
Calling all based patriots, meme lords, and conservatives, Student Action Summit is happening 2022, Tampa, Florida, July 22nd through the 24th. You don't want to miss it. You'll make lifelong friends, you'll probably meet your soulmate, and you'll be able to network with the biggest names in the conservative movement. Sign up now on TPUSA.com.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. Jobob.
Guess what?
My God.
Guess what today is? Not Wednesday.
Oh, I was like, where are you going
with
this?
I thought it was trying to rhyme words with airline names. Day. We got
It's
Jobob.
not What in the World Wednesday, and I'm excited about that.
Oh, but we got the Professor Watch List.
So it kind of is, let's just be honest.
The worst.
The worst.
We got Isabel, Debra, Jobob. I'm John. We're going to start with the first of the worst.
Nice.
Professor, thank you very much. Professor Terry Husband.
Her last name's Husband?
I thought his name was Professor.
Thank
you very much.
My eyes are closed. My eyes are closed. Is there a photo of them on the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I try and describe what it is that they look like?
Sure.
Yes.
Older, balding white man with glass. Oh,
No,
dang it.
not even remotely.
Okay, so let me go the other direction. Younger, green-haired white. Okay.
Open your eyes.
Oh, whoa!
There's Terry.
Wow! I was very wrong there.
All right, get a load of Tear Dog here. All right, a doctor of early childhood education at Illinois State University. And this is when it gets good, people. Identifying as an anti-activist, they have an interest in teaching for social justice. He urges teachers to insert race and discussions about race into their curriculum as early as kindergarten. So not only do teachers want to indoctrinate your kids about sexuality, they want these kids to think about race and how race should be incorporated in absolutely everything. Deborah, what in the world?
That is, why do we need to teach these children about everything that is, I mean, race is just a touchy subject nowadays in this country. It wasn't always. We used to believe that being colorblind was a good thing. Your color really didn't deter. I'm old enough to remember at 21 years old when we used to say that race didn't determine anything except the color of your skin. I don't know, we're trying to reteach something else to these children. I think MLK would be extremely disappointed in this younger generation right now. This is not the world that he envisioned for us. And I think his quote still rings true to me, that I want my children to hold hands with people of all different races without ever thinking about it. And studies show that children, you don't even need a study, just take a child, put it with another child. They're never thinking, oh, this is my friend's black, my friend's white, my friend's green, my friend's purple. They just think, it's my friend. That's really, like, childhood is so pure and simple, and I think they're trying to defile that by making them care about these issues so young and trying to push a narrative on them before they can even understand what it means.
Who wrote that song that is like, we shall be free, is the mantra of the song?
Ernest Hemingway.
Really? Was it a
What?
poem?
No, I don't know.
No, it was like when there's only one
Like
race
the
and
most
that's
wrong
mankind,
answer.
we shall be free. And I always think that's so beautiful.
Bob Marley?
But now that's completely racist, apparently, to say that you can't separate everybody into racial categories. And that just blows my mind. Like, this is the exact opposite of societal progress in any way, shape, or form, but we have to keep progressing as a progressive society, even if it's actually devolving us as human beings. Also, if this person's really serious about being progressive, maybe they should change their last name from husband to partner.
Well, we're going to get into details of the education here about anti-racism from Professor Husband.
Partner.
Excuse me, Professor Partner.
Bigot.
Terry.
Open relationship.
All right, Professor Terry. So this is what Dr. Terry has to say. They accuse white teachers of harboring implicit bias. So that's another aspect of
only the white ones.
Systemic racism. It's only the white ones. There's some part of the education. There's Tear Dog at the top right.
What is NCES? Like, can you just make up acronyms?
No, it's maybe National Center for Education Statistics or something.
I'm not
Well, just because more people enter a field, people love taking the statistic. Just because there's more people in a field, that means that there's a lurking variable. Maybe people of that color and that age group just want to go into that field more.
Can we put that back up, please, everybody in the control room? Read this last bullet point. Bias, implicit, not explicit, racial bias that apparently exists in the classroom is somehow resulting in low-level and non-rigorous instruction for students of color. This is the opposite of what people are normally saying, that we should have non-rigorous and low-level instruction for students of color. That's why Oregon just got rid of math requirements and math grading, because apparently black people can't learn math the same way that white people can. That's disgusting. It's why a lot of these colleges and universities are no longer accepting the ACT and the SAT, because from their perspective, black students will have lower scores always than white students, which is disgusting and racist. But I find that interesting that he's saying that's actually a bad thing and we should have rigorous instruction. If that's the case, I do agree with you.
Yeah.
But I don't think he actually means it that way.
No, I think it's the opposite.
And that's when it comes up next. There's obviously this aspect of equity that's constantly being pushed right now. There needs to be equal outcomes, not equal opportunity. The beauty of America is we have equal opportunity. And obviously, if systemic racism was real, point to a law that is racist against some sort of group, and we would get rid of it. We can throw that back on the screen real quick too. So like, what curriculum changes should we consider? So center around the voices, perspectives, and histories of BIPOC and other marginalized groups in the curriculum. So obviously there's been this massive push here that you're telling, especially, this is a college professor, but talking about how you need to insert this into elementary school, and even as young as kindergarten.
My
This isn't a
college
bunch
has
of,
done this a little bit. They started black-only math classes last year. There was
What?
Wait,
what? Whoa, back up. Where do you go to college?
University of Maryland College Park. Last year, I recently enrolled in another school to finish my last few credits. Still getting my degree from there, so don't kick me out. Needed a little bit of freedom in Florida. But last semester, it was called like the Black Student Alliance. It was a group of like 30 black students who came forward with demands, not requests, demands for the university. One of them was to stop hiring white teachers, more white teachers than black people. They want to accept more black students than white students per capita, no grades, no like relying on anything else. But one of the requests that they have, which was instituted, was black-only math classes. And here's the thing.
Wait, it got through?
It got through because the university just keeps bowing in further and further, but it gets worse. I can understand, like, if you want to help children who are falling behind, and if it really were that the people of color, due to backgrounds or due to just educational understanding, learning disabilities, to falling behind to help them, but it was literally for the reason that they gave was exactly what you think. We don't feel safe around learning around our colonizer peers, and we need a safe space of black-only students to learn. But then when that class doesn't perform as well as the rest, whose fault is it? It's the white people's fault. So it just goes full circle.
Okay, so I like that you point out this example because I say all the time when I go speak to like older audiences or I do things for fundraisers, and it really surprises people. These ideas never just stay on college campuses, right? Obviously, they get crazier on college campuses, but they graduate with these students and they infiltrate the job market and the halls of Congress and corporate boardrooms, but they also infiltrate the rest of education, as we know, because we're teaching the next generation of teachers and helping them understand what their curriculum is supposed to be. That's exactly what we're talking about with this professor. I guarantee you, now that that's the norm today on college campuses, which was the evolution of, oh, we need to practice anti-racism and everything, that has been accepted. Will not be surprised 5 years from now when all of those students have graduated if we quite legitimately institute black-only classrooms and white-only classrooms in elementary and middle and high schools.
Go back to black-only colleges, black-only water fountains.
Yeah, I would not be surprised.
It's crazy
not one
how they
bit.
just flip it, and if there's a positive spin, it's suddenly a good thing. Like, oh no, it's okay that we're black-only because they're doing it for a good thing. But I really just believe that separating any group, segregating anybody for any reason is just not a good thing. I think
it's disgusting.
It's gross, and I don't know why this country is suddenly like, oh, good idea.
Segregation's coming back. We've been trying to tell everybody.
At first it was dorm rooms and then graduation ceremonies. Now it's math classes. And I guarantee you the next generation of teachers is going to try to be implementing these things through teachers' unions. And they're going to say we need black-only classrooms and white-only classrooms, and that's going to completely evolve.
For a second,
mark my words.
Can I zoom out a little bit just to back to the broad professor
real quick, and then we'll get
thing?
to the next professor.
Oh, shoot, there's another one. So yesterday, we were at a rally with Charlie, and there was a guy with a megaphone yelling, "These Nazis are exposing professors," as if that was a bad thing.
Also, that's the opposite of what Nazis did.
Yeah,
I feel like
let's like not delve into the dialect of this very idiotic person, but saying like they're trying to expose what professors are teaching. Yeah.
And
no arguments with that. No arguments here. Like, yes, that's what we were trying to do. So I don't know. I thought that was funny yesterday.
Well, let's expose another one.
Yeah.
Give us the next one.
The same people who want body cams on cops are like, oh my God, knowing what a teacher is doing to your young, impressionable child, straight to jail. What's wrong with you?
There's so much stuff I want to say, but I don't want us to get deplatformed. But if I was out there, and be like, oh, so you said something about Nazis? Let's pull up professorwatchlist.org. All right, so Dr. Jody David Armour all right, you're going to do the guessing game again from University of Southern California, professor of law. And according to his university biography, I'm going to give you a little bit more. He.
Okay.
Dr.
It's a very
Armour
androgynous day today.
Studies the intersection of racial justice, criminal justice, and rule of law. I can't wait.
It's Bob Ross.
Oh my gosh, it is. It's Black Bob Ross.
Beautiful little mistake.
Oh my word. Okay.
In living color.
Professor
Armour.
Bob Ross, though. Bob Ross is a little more calming.
Yeah, a little
this
bit.
This guy seems like he likes to stir the pot.
Happy little Bob Ross.
Happy little racism.
Happy little racist trees.
Happy little white fragility. Get over there. All right, so this one. So his work in the classroom is as he quotes, a different type of CRT.
A different type. Okay.
Get this. It's called N-word theory.
No, you're kidding me. Like hard R N-word theory?
I don't know if it's hard R. I don't. Maybe that's like that's the graduate level class.
You need a degree to say that one.
Okay, explain this. What's happening?
All right, we're going to throw this up on the screen, too. He further described his work named, It's Not Hard R, I guess.
How? Wait,
Too bad.
did he spell it out? Did he spell it out? It's censored.
I'm not going to say it.
But
Wait, his handle.
you,
His
John.
handle is that too.
How is he not suspended from Twitter also then? Isn't the whole
Transgressive
racist thing?
utterances? What
He
does that
talks
even
about
mean?
negrophobia and reasonable racism.
Okay.
Wait, what?
He
When
wants
is
to start,
racism ever reasonable?
according to this guy.
This is a joke.
Check that out.
No,
So-
this is real.
Yeah, keeps going. Can't wait to watch this professor. What, to just absolutely destroy him? So look at that. That's steeped into that critical race theory, this reasonable racism, the common theme,
Negrophobes?
the formal equality produced by the civil rights movement, colorblind formalism, cannot address systemic and unconscious racism.
This literally is alphabet soup. Like, he just threw a bunch of words into a pot and tried to make it sound good. Mom, Dad, if you're watching this right now, this is why I don't want to go to law school anymore. It's professors like this.
Mr. and
This
Mrs.
is
Brown, listen
normal
up.
now. Like, that is disgusting. Also, while we're at it, the American Bar Association actually just a few months ago made it a new rule that as a law student in America, you are required to receive critical race theory training and anti-racism training to become a licensed attorney in the United States while you are in law school. So this is not that outrageous. This is going to become the norm for all law school curriculums across the country.
I wanted to go to law school. I didn't know that. Like, I still want to.
I have a
but-
seat in the fall if I
Wow.
want it. And I mean, I'm looking around at this country and I'm like,
Daily
no.
Wire has to make a law school now. That just doesn't stop.
Yeah, there we go.
Ben Shapiro's
Disney
the
today,
ultimate
law school tomorrow. If he
Jeremy's
went to
law
law
school.
school,
Yeah.
they probably
Nashville
could.
just turns into this
That's
oasis. And
hilarious.
it's just like,
Oh
this
my
is
gosh.
actually
I was telling
freedom.
Brett by the end of the year they're gonna have a whole aisle at CVS. Brett's tampons, Jeremy's
I
race
love it.
face.
I love it. We're gonna pitch it. Oh, it's great.
Make a theme park.
Yeah, no, that's
God
coming
King,
next.
put together one. I want
For their field trips from their education center for the
At
young
Jeremy
kids
Boring,
now.
please make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you for the razors. Thank you for the children's books. Thank you
that's
for
funny. The amusement park to
music
come.
and New Hollywood. We need a theme park, brother.
The movies, yeah. A movie theater.
Epcot, but it's all like actually American history the entire time. Okay, these people are psycho.
Animatronic Ben Shapiro.
Yeah,
The fact that
take
this
here.
person is a legitimate, probably tenured law school professor, and this is what they're making of their career, it's exactly the same thing of teaching the next generation of teachers. This is teaching the next generation of attorneys and Supreme Court justices. You think Ketanji Brown Jackson and this whole thing the last couple of weeks was bad? Just wait 10 years until all of these people are judges and justices being considered for this stuff. I find it absolutely appalling. It's disgusting. But I don't even think there's anything we can really do about it at this point. I think we just have to let the higher education system implode. Like, I honestly think that's the only way.
100%. Last take here. So Dr. Armour's notable for his advocacy on behalf of district attorneys supported by George Soros, while he served as a fellow of George Soros's Open Society Foundation. You want some? Holy crap!
Wait, is that
Rasputin?
Is that District Attorney Gascon on the right?
That's
The
George
LA district attorney
Gaston.
That's getting
Yeah.
recalled. Interesting. Huh.
There's no man like Gaston. All right, so we got a message from Freedom Square, and then we're going to be back for one last thing.
All right, guys, you have signed up, right? You've joined freedomsquare.com. If you haven't, why not? This should have happened a decade ago. How did somebody not think of this earlier? If you're a business owner, we have a business directory to promote your business to patriots across the nation. So if you want to buy American, if you want to sell American, we have a business directory. Whatever it is, go now.
Join us in the fight for freedom. Welcome to Freedom Square.
Welcome back to TPUSA Live. My gosh.
We have very chaotic energy today on this show.
If you knew what happened during commercial breaks,
We should do that. You know how
we probably
sports
should.
games do like the TV commercials while they still have the live feed into like the half inning. We should do that here.
You guys
the
can see.
shenanigans. We play like a Chinese fire drill where we all switch seats and then try and get back.
That's probably racist for you to say. You probably shouldn't say that.
Okay, I don't know.
That's pretty insensitive.
Okay.
But you should check out the new episode of Socialism Sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
There we go.
While we're at
Talking
it,
about Chinese fire drills, actually.
Yeah.
But for one last thing, this has been all over the office. I know a lot of conservative circles have been sharing this. A final report card, basically a study about all the states together. how did they do during the pandemic? So the study is conducted by the National Bureau of Economic Research. It's updated from their version from October 2020, and they talk about how the health, economy, and policy varied over 50 states. So let's start with the top 10.
Can we take a guess?
Top 10 bad or top 10 good?
Top 10 best states.
Well, I feel like you point out the metrics too, because a lot of your big lefty media has just been talking about deaths. But that's not the only thing that got affected, right?
All
So
right,
they're
let's
taking
guess.
into account all of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Florida, number one.
Florida's on there, and then also, once again, those variables are health outcomes, economic performance throughout the pandemic, and impact on education.
Texas.
Texas
Idaho.
Tennessee.
is not in the top 10.
Idaho.
Alaska.
Idaho and Alaska are on my
Idaho
list.
is in the top 10.
Nebraska.
And then just take a wild guess who's
New York
in
and
the
California,
bottom 10.
the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, those are in there too. So we're going to show that up on the screen now we've done our guessing.
Utah, nice.
I said
Yeah.
Nebraska.
Boom.
And Montana.
Cornhuskers.
I'm killing it.
So the Mormons and the Cornhuskers did an incredible job.
Nice.
Congratulations there.
Thank you.
Montana, South Dakota, Florida, number 6. New Hampshire, Maine, Arkansas, and Idaho.
I
and
feel
then,
like Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine were all just hanging out up there because no one was going to visit them, and they're so small that they were just like, okay, hi.
Why are we counting D.C. as a state?
Yeah, I was going to say Jersey
Get
did so
outta here
bad.
with
They're
that.
I guarantee
below.
you, give it 5 years, D.C. will be a state.
They
They're
did
already
worse.
voting
I know.
on that.
well,
But
Nevada,
anyway.
Nevada
There's
did a
signs
bad job
everywhere.
during the pandemic and also counted a lot of dead people's votes. So congratulations,
Cheers to that, Nevada.
to Nevada. But I mean, these shouldn't shock anybody. So like, we knew right away. So
I'm
we
a
talked
little shocked.
You
I have
are?
to say- only because I
Really?
was in New York for the beginning of the pandemic. I'm from the Upper West Side,
Yeah.
so we really saw it get hit. And for the beginning, it was so bad. But I think people like to talk like, oh, New York's still locked up, but it's
No,
pretty
not
normal
anymore.
there. Like the whole summer, everything was open. I thought that once they finally got over it, it kind of bounced back a lot quicker than I thought. But they did a horrible job at managing it. But in terms of
I think that's a lot of where it comes in.
numbers
Like
came in.
obviously,
Yeah.
Cuomo was just throwing people into
Yeah.
old people's homes.
Outside the city.
And
Yeah.
then
dead bodies in the trucks.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
basically they were just going flip flop back and forth
Yeah.
about how they're going about things, and then small businesses got decimated. And if it hadn't have been for Dave Portnoy from Barstool, El Presidente,
Yeah.
doing
God
the
bless
Barstool
him.
Fund, a
That
lot
was
of these
great.
stores and small businesses wouldn't have been able to survive.
Yeah,
that's
that
very
is true. I've seen all the mom and pop shops.
Can we put up the
close.
bad states again? I'm just curious.
Here's the bad states.
Maybe.
D.C., Illinois, yeah.
Maryland,
So
that's where my college is.
Basically
Wow.
everywhere that's failing at everything else too.
Is blue.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't really be surprising
No.
at all. New Jersey, obviously, just right by. It's
New Jersey's the
that
armpit
shouldn't
of
shock
America.
anybody. Everybody looking at 49,
Amen.
50, and
Retweet,
51.
Preach.
New Jersey is the absolute worst.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Like seriously
Tell
though,
them.
my least favorite airport on earth is the New
Oh,
York.
that airport
Chicago
is
O'Hare
horrible.
is slightly behind it, but they're all bad. It's all bad.
No, the New Jersey airport. That's
Yeah,
that's
if you make it
hell
through
on
the
earth.
airport alive, someone will jump you right when you get outside.
Pretty much, yeah. It's pretty
New York
accurate.
is like the most dangerous city in America.
It's- you'll
so
die.
bad
Yeah.
there. You're just dead. Gone.
Right to
We
death.
should
Right away.
we should do an airport tour.
Yes.
Because,
That
like-
raiding
sounds
America's
great.
airports.
Yeah,
And harassing TSA and getting arrested.
Denver,
You guys can
number
do that.
one.
I'm out.
Hey,
that sounds
hey,
terrible.
hey,
It's
hey,
weird. It's
hey.
weird.
I thought you liked
Oh,
shenanigans.
There's a lot of conspiracies about the Denver airport.
Oh, how it's just a tent in the middle of a field?
Hey,
That's Denver
now.
Airport.
They're
It's
really
a new
improving
world
things,
order
okay?
going on there. I'll put my tinfoil
I actually
hat
like
on
this
for that
idea.
one.
New series, us
Last
going
take
through
real quick.
all the airports without a mask on for the next 2 weeks until they say that they drop it, and seeing who is the worst airport and worst TSA when it comes to enforcement. Let us
All right.
know in the comments if you
We're
want
going
to
to
see
talk
it.
to the executives and get the heck out of here. We're going dark tomorrow. We're not going to be on, but we will see you on Monday. Happy Easter, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily, powered by Turning Point USA. Today is April 14th, 2022, Anno Domini. Today's top stories. Elon Musk offers to buy Twitter for $41 billion, take it private, and bring free speech to the globe. But will the globalists allow it? Next, the New York subway attack suspect, Frank James, arrested on terror-related charges after calling in himself. Third, inside the military's secret undercover army, we're going to break down this new investigation. And finally, a 41-page motion filed in federal court states that federal assets were embedded in the Capitol on January 6. All of this and more ahead, Human Events Daily.
I use my tweets to express myself. Some people use their hair. I use Twitter.
Well, but you use your tweeting to kind of get back at critics.
Rarely.
You kind of have little wars with the press.
Twitter is a war zone. If somebody's going to jump in the war zone, it's like, okay, you're in the arena. Let's go.
Massive news this morning, and we've got the full backstory for you. So everyone in the world is talking about this. Elon Musk puts in a bid for Twitter, $42 billion with a B dollars. Now, people need to understand, this doesn't, Twitter's a public company, so this is considered a tender offer. And so for this to go through, right, Twitter is now required to form an independent committee of the board and go through all of this. They have to do their due diligence. That's what's required of a public company. And keep in mind, that's part of the rules you agree to when you become a public company. Whereas Elon, on the other hand, is talking about not just buying it. This is very key because I see a lot of the headlines, even Forbes missed this in their headline, buying it and taking it private. That's key. Private control of Twitter. And what he's trying to do is not a hostile takeover, number one. This is gift wrap with a bow from their largest investor, number one. This is gift wrapped. The huge gift wrap on this. They're not going to get a better offer. They might try to milk him for more money, but keep in mind, there's also going to be debt involved with this too. So he's going to have to take on the debt, and he said that he will. What it is a liberation. This is a liberation of Twitter for freedom of speech. And the powers that be, the regime, this is a shot across the bow. It may even be, as Darren Beatty says, a declaration of war against them. Because in the narrative space, Twitter is the public square of the global forum. And as the public square of the global forum, that's the place where you can go for actual, honest, and true debate. And that's what myself and Mike Cernovich were talking about all the way back on March 26th in a tweet thread when Elon Musk responded. Cernovich was tweeting at him saying, look at all the double standards, look at all the smears and the falsehoods that Twitter lets run, whether it be the Covington kids, whether it be Jussie Smollett, all those smears run, but conservatives get censored. And then Elon Musk said, it seems a little double-sided. I responded, buy Twitter and take it private. Now, another bit of insight on this, right? Because I said I would give you guys the insight. Jack Dorsey had talked about this. There were rumors about Jack Dorsey behind the scenes when he came back on. Remember, he left the CEO in the mid-2000s, comes back at the end of 2015. And there were rumors that Dorsey wanted to take it private again, kind of like a Frankenstein's monster situation. But he wasn't able to do so. Now, Elon, who's friends with Jack Dorsey, comes in, and remember, I told you a name yesterday, Alex Spiro. I said, when Alex Spiro is involved in something, you don't bring in the heavy hitters. You don't bring in the pipe hitter like Alex Spiro if you're not serious. That's how I knew, and we told you yesterday on the show. We called the shot. We said, Alex Spiro plays to win. And the management at Twitter totally screwed this up because of the way they treated Elon Musk when he talked about getting just this 9% of the company. First, they start putting out all these restrictions on him. They tell him that he can only own up to 15%. They want him to take a background check and something, I don't believe it's been reported anywhere yet, they actually told him as one of the stipulations, he couldn't tweet about Twitter. Obviously, that's going to be a hard no for Elon. That's a poison pill. So all of that, and then also saying that former President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, would not be allowed back on Twitter unequivocally, that forced his hand because he wanted to have a conversation about this. And if you read Elon's letter, which we posted on Twitter and Getter and everywhere else this morning, he said, Twitter has extraordinary potential and I will unlock it. However, I do not have confidence in management, nor do I believe I can drive the necessary change in the public market. And as such, if the deal doesn't work, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder. What's he saying? He's saying, take the stock or take the deal or I'm going to tank the stock. So it's gift wrapped with a little bow. But make no mistake, if he pulls out, Twitter's stock will crumble. Your move, globalists.
Hi, how are you? What is your name?
I'm good. My name is Zach. I was working inside the store and I was doing security cameras inside. And I see the guy, he walking from the screen. I see him from the cameras. So I thought, oh, this guy, let me call the police. And I call him and we catch him.
Zach, you are a hero. Thank you so much.
No problem.
We
try
thank you.
to make the people safe always because the people is nice, the life is nice, you know?
Thank you, Zach.
So the suspect has been captured. By the way, I love this guy, Zach, right? How can you not love this guy? A proud New Yorker, living his best life. We saw him, we caught him, and we're still trying to kind of understand exactly what the timeline is on this, because we're also hearing reports, and the New York Post has it as well, that the suspect himself in the subway attack called the police his own from a McDonald's in the East Village and then said that he was waiting for them. His phone was about to run out of battery. They need to come. They find him walking around. So we think what it looks like to me is that he called Crime Stoppers, calls the police line, turns himself in essentially, then is walking around on the street. Then this guy, Zach, finds him. So obviously when you're talking about this suspect, Frank R. James, not somebody who's in his right mind. You know, not when you're asking why would you do stuff like this, not somebody in his right mind. Obviously, we can tell from more serious notes, you know, looking at what he did or what he's accused of doing, of course, alleged, caveat, it's horrific and clearly not someone in their right mind. YouTube has taken down his page that we were talking about yesterday, and he is going to be charged with terrorism. From the New York Post, police say James detonated smoke grenades before firing 33 shots on the Manhattan-bound N train. Police found a hatchet, 3 ammunition magazines, fireworks, and gasoline, and it is a miracle that no one is killed. Whatever his psychiatric issues, James sounds very much like other ideological, fixated, identity-obsessed killers who have emerged since the BLM Antifa racial movement of 2020 and the hate speech it unleashed. And as you can see through his rhetoric, clearly appears to be someone who believes in the Black nationalist movement, clearly someone who's using hate speech against white people, Jewish people, all sorts of people that he believes are responsible for what he views as oppression in society, and conducted this act, it seems to be, motivated by that racial animus. I believe the FBI's official term for this is Black identity extremist. And the mainstream media has said that Black identity extremists don't exist. Well, I actually remember last year, about 1 year ago, a Capitol police officer was murdered by a Black identity extremist who was a follower of Louis Farrakhan. The officer's name was Billy Evans. And yet, and it happened right here, right down the street from where I'm sitting at the U.S. Capitol building. And yet there was no big 1 year commemoration for him the way there was for January 6th. We barely even talk about it. He is the only Capitol police officer to be murdered in the past 20 years. I looked this up. The only one. And yet you don't hear about Billy Evans, who was killed by a Black identity extremist. Who you hear about are the people on January 6th. So going back to this guy, this Frank R. James, we need to understand, we absolutely need to understand why it is in this country that we're not focused on all of these things. Because as I said before, the FBI had him on their radar. The FBI knew about this guy and they cleared him. This is also a great example of someone, by the way, that I think would be a perfect candidate for a 5150. And if you don't know what a 5150 is, that's an involuntary commitment. That's an involuntary hold in a mental institution or a psychiatric wing of a hospital, right? This is clearly somebody who's got mental issues. This is clearly somebody who ought to be locked up and get the care that he needs. But we don't do that anymore because we systematically dismantled the public mental health system in this country. We let these people roam around free. We know there's problems. He was on law enforcement's radar. Another success for the FBI, right? When I was in the intelligence community, I thought we were just going to go in there and get bad guys. But then I learned there was a little thing called politics. And so here I am, right? That's not what they do. There is no A-team out there. It's not Jack Bauer and CTU or any of this stuff. It doesn't exist. Hate to say it, folks, it doesn't exist. And the FBI would be more likely to frame a bunch of guys up in Michigan, up in the woods in Michigan, of a fake plot to go get the governor up there than they would be to stop an attack like this. And thank God, and it is a miracle, I agree with the New York Post, it is a miracle that no one was killed. But again, this isn't something where they're going to turn around and say, oh, this isn't the fault of the guy who pulled the trigger. This isn't the fault of the criminal. This isn't the fault of the mental health system or the broken mental health system in this country. No. This is the fault of all law-abiding gun owners in this country. When we've already seen that the vast majority of gun owners do not commit mass shootings. There's simply no data for it whatsoever. And you're going to see more incidents like this until we get the mental health situation in this country fixed. I want to tell you about the secret life of Jonathan Darby. This is from Newsweek.com. Every morning at 10 a.m., Jonathan Darby embarks on his weekly rounds of mail call. But Darby is not his real name. It's also not the fake name on his Missouri driver's license that he used to conduct his work. And the government car he drives, one of a fleet of over 200,000 federal vehicles owned by the General Services Administration, is also not registered in his real or his fake name. And nor are his magnetically attached Maryland state license plates really for his car, nor are they traceable back to him or his organization. Where Darby works and the locations he visits are also classified. Darby is retired from the Army, and he asked that neither his real nor his cover name be used. He served 20 years in counterintelligence, including 2 African assignments where he was operated in a low profile in Ethiopia and Sudan, masquerading as an expat businessman. Now he works for a Maryland-based signature reduction contractor that he asked Newsweek not to identify. As Darby makes his rounds to 40 or so post offices and storefront mailboxes in the DC metropolitan area, he picks up a trunk full of letters and packages, mailing a similar number from rural addresses. Back at the office, he sorts through the take, delivering bills to the finance people and processing dozens of personal and business letters mailed from scores of overseas locations. What he's doing is keeping up what's called the Cover Acquisition Management System, a super secret register of false identities where clandestine operators around the world for the United States government are used. False identities traveling overseas, they alter databases of U.S. Customs and Immigration forms to ensure that those performing these activities can return to the United States unmolested. The U.S. Department of Defense, according to Newsweek, and the U.S. military writ large, has a force of over 600,000 people belonging to a secret army. They use something, now this is something where Newsweek gets it wrong. They call the name of the program signature reduction. Signature reduction actually is the term that they use. This is a special access program, also known as a SAP, and a lot of SAPs have different and colorful names and different things. But what they do is they travel overseas. Some of these names, you might see them like Hurricane Fan, Island Hopper, Peanut Chocolate, right? But the actual terms of the offices would be Defense Program Support Activity, Joint Field Support Center. The word support always seems to be in there. Special Programs Office. What you need to understand about this is that Newsweek is able to uncover a little bit about what our U.S. human intelligence collection force is able to do around the world. I'm talking wigs, fake hands, fake fingertips that are made synthetic up there so that you're not leaving fingerprints, or if that you have to use a scanner, you can use that, fake IDs. All of this is being done. And so while obviously this is something that we want our federal government to be doing, we want intelligence on our adversaries. But at the same time, we need to make sure that that intelligence in these operations are actually getting to the lawmakers. And something that I learned when I was in the intelligence community is that so often the intelligence that's collected in the field in the raw, before it gets closer and closer to the president, to the White House, to the Pentagon, it gets siloed and it gets politicized. It becomes more political the closer it gets to DC. So we support these people. We hope that they're safe. We know that they're out there putting themselves in harm's way, but at the same time, you have to fix intelligence in this country because the process of what they're collecting and what our leaders are hearing is broken.
Just after 2:33 p.m., police officers allow 5 individuals to exit the Capitol through the Upper West Terrace doors. At 2:34 p.m., a gentleman holding an American flag catches the door just as the last protester leaves. At the same time at 2:34 p.m., a gentleman with a red cap approaches the interior doors. As the police officer notices him, he continues to approach. The police officer holds the door for the protester as he enters the Capitol undeterred. At 2:35 p.m., a large group enters the interior of the Capitol, police standing at the doors. As a steady stream of protesters enter through the Upper West Terrace doors. At 2:36:54, the police allow the crowd to pass. At 2:38 p.m., a woman with a sock hat and a camera with a sound recording device attached to it films police as they allow people to enter.
Well, that's an incredible video that was just released, obtained exclusively by the Gateway Pundit, that they've shared out now and we're watching. And we've seen recently, and this is why it's relevant, that a case just concluded here in Washington, D.C., where one of the accused January 6 insurrectionists was actually found not guilty, was exonerated and acquitted because of the simple fact that Capitol Police officers allowed them into the building. That's actually what the judge ruled. It was a bench trial. Now we've got a new breaking court filing from justthenews.com. Let's see what's coming out here. Court filing states 20 federal assets were embedded at the Capitol on January 6. The claim arrives in the form of a footnote in a 41-page motion to dismiss charges against members of the Oath Keepers militia. An attorney for a January 6 defendant says in a recent court filing that at least 20 FBI and Bureau of ATF assets were embedded around the Capitol on the day of the riot. This attorney, David Fisher, is seeking a dismissal of charges of seditious conspiracy and obstruction charges against nearly a dozen members of the Oath Keepers and his client, Thomas Caldwell. The motion was filed before U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta in Washington, D.C., according to the Epoch Times. So let's go through this because our focus is obviously on the merits of the case, but also what are they talking about when it comes to FBI and ATF assets. It says, at least 20 FBI and ATF assets were embedded around the Capitol on January 6th. The motion also states that the attorneys combed through mountains of discovery, including summaries of interviews conducted by FBI agents, and that members of the Oath Keepers, a far-right militia group, were being monitored and recorded prior to January 6th. Attorney Fisher writes that despite carefully inspecting a significant amount of evidence during discovery, he has not found one iota of proof that the defendants pre-planned or had any intention, design, or scheme to specifically enter the Capitol building on January 6th. And so that's where it comes down to us. We were just talking about the intelligence community in the last segment. We're going to talk about it again here because we want to know. This obviously has been part of the contention out there. If you've been following Revolver News, you've seen this. There's the Darren Beatty and Tucker Carlson documentary on this. Was there a role of federal assets and federal agents in January 6th? We know, obviously, that they had assets embedded, or at least informants, in the Oath Keepers and some of these other militias that were involved in the events of January 6th. Some of the people, obviously, have been agitated. And the one thing that I said myself when I was reporting there at the time for One American News, I saw people One guy specifically in a green poncho with a hat, urging the crowd, agitating the crowd. You need to come in, come forward, right? And you've got people that had shown up for the peaceful rally with the president all the way down at the Oval, just kind of standing around waving flags, not understanding what's going on. And so you have this mainstream media narrative out there about January 6th, but then when you actually dig through the details, when you look at the video that Gateway Pundit posted, when you look at the court filings like this, it really starts to paint a different picture. And when it comes to the system of justice in this country, right, going all the way back to the Boston Massacre, so many times we hear these statements. The first thing we hear is the loudest thing we hear, but then when we start digging into the story, we find the devil is in the details, and we find that the actual events that took place were different than what we had been initially told. And the way that the mainstream media and the corporate media have acted in this country over the past 6 years, I think that we should always have a healthy dose of skepticism for them. And that's what Human Events Daily is all about. Well, that's all the time we have today. Human Events Daily. Remember, our promise, our oath, our solemn vow to you. Be good, be brief, be gone. Your homework for us, share this out with just one of your normie friends, and leave us your 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. What did we talk about today? Elon Musk, the biggest news, offering to buy Twitter and take it private. We know that they are going to go after Tesla. They're going to go after SpaceX as a way to respond to this. The regime cannot have it. Next, we talked about the New York subway attack suspect, Frank James, calling himself in. Third, we got into the military's secret undercover army. And finally, we touched on the new motions coming up in federal court over the January 6 cases. Before we go, it's time for today's moment of history. Today, on this day, 1865, Abraham Lincoln shot by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater. That's why I always say, ladies and gentlemen, do not trust actors. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.
Welcome to the Breakaway Podcast. I'm John Root. We have a fantastic Sunday conversation. I know I've been talking to Kylie McLaughlin, who was a former Oklahoma University volleyball player. She was a captain for them. She was a fantastic athlete at OU. Scholar Athlete of the Year, Big 12 Co-Setter of the Year, two-time first team All Big 12, all these accolades. But you know, there's been so much social justice nonsense thrown in these athletes' faces on college universities across the country. Free speech is under attack. She breaks down her story that is accompanied by a lawsuit against OU coaches and some other people involved in pushing her through this diversity, equity, and inclusion training. She talked about some documentaries where she had to basically check her privilege. She goes through these, she breaks down these classes that she had to talk about her white allergies, something that her coach told her. It's an absolutely insane story. And finally, for the first time, Kylie is opening up about her story. There's been a lot of news articles and different networks that have covered the story, but for the first time, she's telling you from the horse's mouth what happened and what is next. It's a very encouraging story. It's a heartbreaking story, because she has a great climax to this story too. She took a 1-win Ole Miss team after she transferred from OU to a tournament appearance. It's incredible. And she's got a heart of gold. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. So upon further ado, here's Kylie McLaughlin. Well, Kylie McLaughlin, welcome to the Breakaway Podcast. I know this has been months and months in the making, ever since we covered your story about what happened at Oklahoma University, playing on the volleyball team there. Welcome to the studio.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Well, I know we originally talked to each other, after an article was written for the TPUSA live feed, talking about your story of you were put into this position where you have to go with the certain, basically leftist narrative, or you're going to have to redshirt or just get off the team. But there's been a lot of news articles written. There's been a lot of news stories, but you haven't had the ability to really come out and say, hey, this is my story. This is what happened. And tell us first and foremost, what led to you even getting to OU?
Well, I started my college career at Oregon State and, had a great year there. Made really good friends that I still talk to, had a great relationship with the coaches.
You can brag a little bit. You were the freshman of the year, correct?
Pac-12 freshman of the year, yeah. So I don't like to brag about myself.
I'll brag for you.
Thanks. But yeah, I had a great year there and then had some personal family issues at home that we thought it would be best if I, came back somewhere closer to home where I could finish out my career. And so that kind of led me into Oklahoma. I loved everything about it. I loved the campus. I loved that it was closer to home and I had the opportunity to play volleyball. I had a fantastic 2 years there, on and off the court. It was a lot of fun, made some great friends, and a little bit before COVID is where things got kind of rocky and pretty confusing, I would say, to me. So that's kind of how, or I guess what happened before the whole situation. Everything was great. Volleyball was great. Made it to the tournament. Had a lot of, big milestones that we reached as a team and myself individually. But
you had this, basically, just pun intended, you had this turning point. You had something where we cover college campuses at Turning Point USA all the time. What's going on there? There's indoctrination. There's a specific narrative you got to go with. People can't seem to make up their mind. They're like, all right, silence is violence, but if you do speak up, it needs to be along with this specific narrative. And a lot of things that were happening with student athletes like yourself, George Floyd, obviously there was a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion training that was going on during that time. It's check your white privilege at the door. But with you, there was some of that DEI training that happened even before George Floyd that you weren't saying it's not very savory. I don't really understand why this being pushed when we're just trying to get better as people. We're trying to make the tournament, and I'm trying to be better as a volleyball player.
Right. So in the spring of 2020, which was back in February, we started having captains meetings with DEI and PROS, which is the psychological resources / mental health. And we were having discussions because we wanted to figure out, I guess, the problems that we were having as a team and ways that we could fix them. So I was thinking, we're all great. We have great friendships and we work well together on the court, but okay, we could probably get better. Let's see where this goes. Well, it turned into them asking me, like, what do you struggle with? Like, what is something that bothers you or that, kind of gets in the way of your everyday life on campus? And I said, I don't really have any problems. I'm great. I go to class every day. I get my stuff done. I go to volleyball, great practice, go home, eat dinner, do it the next day. And I guess they really wanted something to be wrong. I kept pushing it. So that's
Do you feel like you were judged as a white person, though, if you're saying, like, I don't really feel like there's a lot of things wrong, but there's seems to be so much wrong in the world that they're like, well, is that a sense of privilege that you don't feel like you have anything that you can complain about or that you should be fixing?
It's actually, I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. I just, I was happy. I didn't have
just liked being a student
and
athlete.
I figured, there's probably 100 other people that I know that are close to me that are going through the same thing. They're having a great time at college, and you don't have to be white to have a great time. Like I would assume that everyone was having a fantastic time. And they kept digging. Okay, well, if there's something that I might struggle with, that, you know, I face a little bit of backlash for, that I try not to, you know, share to some people because I know it causes problems, is politics. I said I don't want to talk to people about it. I try and keep it to myself, but I feel like that's something I'm judged for. And so we got into a discussion about that, and that ultimately led to a homework assignment that was me going out on campus and reaching out to somebody that might have opposing views, somebody that I didn't know on campus, to have a conversation with them and, you know, talk about our different views. And
Kylie, what year was this?
This was 2020, so this was my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been there for 2 years. Never had a problem. And they're like, go do this homework, go find someone on campus and that you don't know, that you think could have a fair conversation with you about your political views.
What were they saying specifically about your political views, though? Was that just conversations you were having with teammates that people overheard, or were you pretty active on social media about how you felt about things? What were they saying specifically that your political views might have opposition for?
Nothing that I knew of. I don't know if, I mean, I'll favorite a tweet here and there, and I mean, the people closest to me knew, you know, I was pretty conservative and this is what I believe in, but I don't really go into depth about it with people that don't want to hear my opinion. And that's fair. I feel like, you know, you don't have to sit here and listen to my opinion, and I don't have to listen to yours, but we can both have our own opinions. And I think that's fair, and that's America. You know, everyone has their own opinions that they're entitled to, but I guess my opinion was wrong.
Do you feel like they were kind of forcing you to like out your conservative views then? Because that seems like, all right, well, we kind of already know a little bit, so now can you just like come out of the light and just from the rooftops just tell everybody what you think about conservatism and your views on America? You almost felt like, can I just live my life? My identity is not in politics. If I have conversations with people close to me, and if I happen to have a conversation with someone on the other side, it just happens. You don't feel like that homework assignment kind of seems like I got plenty of other stuff to worry about at school. I don't need a homework assignment from you guys.
Yeah, and the scary part to me was, you know, there was people that, you know, share conservative values and stuff. Well, they were outspoken about it and would go on their campus and be they like to tell everyone. Well, those people are getting harassed and honestly sometimes beat up, and I didn't feel comfortable going to find a random person on campus that, you know, I wanted to go talk to and not know the outcome of it. I mean, they wanted me to go see a person that I didn't ever know.
Were they telling you specifically look for someone that's of a different race, or like how do they actually explain this? Because how do you find somebody with different views? Like, hey, I know I've never met you before, but like, what do you think about politics? Like that doesn't seem as genuine.
I think that's exactly what they were trying to do. They didn't say like, you know, find a specific person or a specific group and, you know, try and join it or see what they're up to. They literally, the assignment was to find somebody on campus that has opposing views. So
were there other students being asked to do this at all, or were you were just singled out? Because did everybody else, like within those captains meetings in these, you said pros, that's what it was called?
Mm-hmm.
Was anybody else kind of on your side of things when it came to politics?
No, I mean, the captains meeting was just two of us, and then the coach and then the DEI and pros kind of person, and it was just us, and then it was just me doing all these homework assignments that didn't really make sense to me. So yeah, they were just very vague about it. They just said go out and figure it out. And then I came back the next time and for our next meeting, and they're like, did you do your homework assignment? I go, no, I felt very uncomfortable. I didn't want to go out and do that. You know, I also have other things to do as well as everybody else on campus. And, you know, I got to do homework, do volleyball, school, go to class. So it was very confusing to me, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it. I didn't feel like I should go out and, I guess, share to some random person how I feel about things, and I'm sure they wouldn't want to hear it either.
And then what I get from you a little bit, you're not really much of an extrovert, are you? At times, maybe?
At times, yeah.
Because that's even tough to ask somebody just in general. And be like, hey, just go out and meet new people. For me, I love going out and meet new people. Anybody can tell me that, sure. I'll go meet somebody new. I can get their life story out of them. Sure, I can have any conversation. But most of the time when I'm meeting new people, I don't want to dive right into politics. Like, I mean, that's a huge part of my job here, but I definitely know how hyper political everything is. And then even on a college campus. So I'm thinking, well, what is this person, like, what's their identity? Like, who are they as a person? And if they bring up politics really quick, it's almost a red flag to me. It's like, why is this one of the first things you think about talking about? Because I don't think you find too much depth in people when you dive right into politics. And it seems like that's what they were asking you.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, that just kind of ended when COVID happened. We went on spring break, and the back weekend of the spring break was when COVID hit, and everybody went home. Everyone stayed home. You know, we would chat in our group message, and I mean, it was hard. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't even go outside. But then the NCAA granted the few hours a week to have over Zoom to each team, and that's when we started getting into. So
they granted you that time?
It was the whole NCAA. They allowed, because for normal practice hours you get 8 during off season and 20 hours during season.
So that's what they were counting as practice time.
Right.
Then there. So okay.
It was. I think it was mandatory time cut out of the week that you had for practice, but it was a Zoom call. And
I think that's important for people to know too, because I mean, I only played Division II football, but I remember we had to stick to that NCAA rule. It's like you can only have this amount of time to practice here. If you're going to have a meeting, like when I played, everything was in person. Didn't have to deal with 2020 at all or anything, but you had to stick to that, or else there were some major ramifications for that. But they granted you that time and different teams. And then what happened during that time?
So the coaches decided to work in pods. So each week, each coach, there was 4, I think, and each week those coaches would have a different pod of a group of 5 to 6 players, and each coach would have their own, I guess, what they wanted to do during their time. One group we played Pictionary, and another group we were tasked with, catching up with an old friend to make sure they were okay during these troubling COVID times, and reaching out to someone who might need help. They're struggling through COVID, they're confused just like everyone else, but stuff like that. Well, then one of the discussions that we got into for our pod group was to watch a documentary called The 13th.
And for people that don't know, that's about the 13th Amendment, and that's a Netflix documentary all about leading up to, it tells a certain story about slavery, the segregation times, the 13th Amendment, everything. So tell us about what happened during that time.
So I watched it. It was what I would assume as mandatory. The text that I received said, watch this, we're discussing it in our pod, and be ready with your opinion, and we're all going to share.
And real quick too, why was that brought up? Like, why was that almost like a mandatory thing to watch? Was that a response to George Floyd? Was that a response to any other social justice initiatives that were going on? Because it doesn't just come up out of the blue, and it seems kind of odd to be on a volleyball team and working towards getting to the tournament, being better as a team, that you're being asked to watch this documentary about slavery.
Right. I believe this was after the George Floyd incident, and now all the social justice movements are happening, and all throughout, the whole United States. So that was something that they wanted to focus on. And I guess we needed a better understanding of how it got to this point in time and why these things are happening. And so that's why we were tasked with watching this documentary. And so I watched it, and when it was my turn to comment on the documentary in our pod, I said, yeah, slavery was horrible. I think that it was a great documentary to learn about this and to learn how we've come so far and see how things have changed and really understand, what people went through and how bad it was. And then the end of the documentary started showing clips of some of the Donald Trump rallies and stuff like that, and basically making it a point that is the same as slavery, that these Trump rallies are equivalent to slavery. And I didn't think that was correct. I don't agree with that, and I said that. I said I don't think the end of the movie was very fair to, portray people on this side of the aisle, more conservative kind of things, than you're portraying them like we were back in these days.
Plain and simple, what they're calling you and other people that leaned right were white supremacists, slave owners.
Right. So there was no discussion after that. The pod basically, after I spoke my opinion, they moved on to the next thing, didn't want to hear anything about it.
Was there like awkward silence? Was there any sort of pushback at all? Like in that moment, did it feel kind of like, like you said something that maybe a few other people might have been thinking? What was the vibe there?
I mean, there was no pushback and nobody said anything. I was pretty confused because I thought we were having a discussion about it. Well, right after the pod was over, about 5 minutes, my teammates are posting on their social medias that I had apparently said things that a racist says.
My goodness.
And calling me a racist. And, I have the post, it says, this is talking points for racist people. And that came about because I had quoted the documentary where it talks about incarceration and how 13% of the population is Black, but they're the majority that are in prison for petty, drugs or whatever it may be. And I said, I just quoted it. I said, the documentary says that 13% of the population, and a lot of that they're in prison. So it was just a quote from the movie, and I guess that means I don't know, they decided that meant I was a racist, and so that's kind of where everything kind of got started.
And these teammates were friends of yours before, right? So like some of these people you had a relationship with, you got to know, and then all of a sudden they're just putting you on blast on social media without no one had a conversation with you about this at all. Because like usually too, you'd have a coach that's going to have moderate a discussion about that. So it's like, if anybody doesn't really agree, it's already putting you in a bad position to have to watch a documentary like this. And then it's very brave and courageous to even bring up something like this. Like, this is my thought process. It seems like this kind of leans left. Everyone agrees that slavery is wrong. Anybody that doesn't believe slavery is wrong is probably a small handful of absolutely insane people in the United States. But to conflate tens of millions of people to being okay with what happened, those atrocities in the past, is all it's doing is gaslighting. And it's also all it's doing is putting you in a position where you have to prove, just like so many kids on college campuses, so many athletes, whether you're in college or pros, show me how anti-racist you are. And like, what? Like there's a flip of the switch just because there's social justice stuff happening that you go from being someone that people appreciate on the team as a teammate and a person to a racist? Like, that's the things that I don't understand with these universities and these diversity and equity and inclusion training, that they don't even want to have any sort of discussion. And if they don't like what you say, they're going to go and try to get a bunch of retweets or likes online and try to show you in this light that's clearly not who you are.
Right. That's about exactly what happened. nobody had a discussion with me. Nobody brought it up to me after the fact, you know, like, hey, let's talk about this. Let's get to the meaning of, you know, what you're thinking, and like, let's dive deeper, which I was completely open to. I would have been completely open to, but I guess it was all such a shock to me. I didn't understand where this was going. You know, I wasn't sitting there trying to cause issues or trying to, you know, remove myself in any way from the team or players. And I lived with the girls. I've lived with, you know, a lot of my teammates that I was just really shocked when all this happened. That
You were in the same house as the girls that put you on blast online?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're just like a door or two down from these people, and all they're doing is typing on their phone or their laptop, or they can't talk to you in person? So what happened?
So not from the pod, but later on, there's another issue that came about. So I obviously ran into trouble with the ESPN post about Texas canceling their fight song and getting rid of it, which I did not see an issue with. So when I put my comment out on that, and everything just, this was still during COVID, and we were all still at home, but we were planning on returning to school soon, but that's when everything kind of just lit up out of, I mean, it was just the craziest thing to me. Nothing I had ever said or done was in any way meant to, you know, hurt people or make them feel bad or whatever. I just, you know, they preach, you know, you have a right to your opinion, and I'm seeing all my teammates putting whatever they want online and posting whatever they want, commenting, and then so, you know, I'm like, well, I guess I can do that and share my opinion on things, but I guess not.
And then telling people that don't know, so the fight song, University of Texas, is Eyes of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So what exactly was the problem with that song, and why did you feel like specifically you wanted to defend that?
I just thought that, you know, it's a tradition that's been there for 100 years or more, and, you know, I don't know what the problem with the song is, but apparently it had racial undertones that I wasn't aware of, that I am still not aware of, but
still, there was no sort of discussion about this. It's
no.
Somebody just had an issue with it, and this is during a time where everything needs to get canceled. If there's any hint that someone thinks that it's got some sort of racist undertone, whether that's actually in the lyrics or something that happened in Texas hundreds of years prior, let's just get rid of it and move on. And it sounds like basically, once again, too, there's a cancellation, or there's something shoved in your face like a documentary, and then just take it, and then please don't have a discussion. Let's just move forward. I don't find any sort of progress with that, especially when you're on a college campus. This is supposed to be the place where you have discussions and you grow as a person, and you are educated on specific subjects, not just lectured to and expected to take that and then just move forward.
Yeah, so the night that happened, you know, they were like, take the post down. So I did. And then
who told you that specifically?
My head coach. The head coach told me to take it down. So I did. And I think it was, the next day I had conversations with the coach about, you know, why did you do that? Why did you post it? This and that. And I told her, you know, I don't think it's right that they want to get rid of a tradition and a song that, you know, means a lot to a program after it's been around for hundreds of years. So I thought the issue had been resolved. You know, I took the post down. 2 days later was when we had to get on a Zoom, and it was all the seniors, all the coaches, DEI representative, and a pros representative. It was supposed to be a moderated discussion about accountability, and you know, I went into the Zoom call and got absolutely blindsided by, you know, it was 2 hours of every single teammate and every coach, you know, saying I'm a bad person. They're degrading me and
so you got
calling
put
me
on
names.
you got put on trial basically with your entire team and these different councils and organizations on campus, and you were not aware of this at all.
No, it was sorry. We got a text said be on the Zoom, and nobody, I had no warning whatsoever, and it was just 2 hours of each person going around on the Zoom call, you know, calling me names, you know, defaming me, saying I said this and I said this. I'm like, I've never even like thought of that in my life.
What were they telling you specifically, Kylie? Like, were they actually calling you racist? Were they like, were those words used? What were they saying exactly?
You're a racist. You're a homophobe. You're a bad person. We can't coach you anymore. I'm embarrassed to coach you. You know, I
You have coaches telling you that?
Yeah.
In front of
the whole team and the DEI, and, you know, most importantly, our mental health representative. And I'm sitting here, I'm just in complete shock. And I'm like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I am not this person. I have never, you know, said anything harmful. Like, and nobody has brought anything up to this point. So I was completely blindsided, called all kinds of names. Yeah, the coach telling me that he was embarrassed to coach me and that he could never coach me again. That one sucked pretty bad.
And this is is that one of the coaches that recruited you originally?
Yeah.
So this is someone that's already built a relationship with you, and I know your mom is here as well, your family, everybody, and then
a very close relationship. He was my specialties coach for setting.
Mm-hmm.
We spent a lot of time together every single day, and it was really hurtful. Sorry. Yeah.
No, and I know this is unbelievably emotional too, because you bring up that mental health aspect. I don't think they were able to put themselves in your shoes, understand what it's like to be able to be called these names. I know we've talked before, we texted about the situation ever since we broke the story here along with other news outlets. No one wants to be called these names. No, like that is just like that hits you to your core, and that's got to be something psychological. It's been so tough to deal with because you know these are lies that everybody's spewing out on this Zoom call, but there's that little side of you that's just like, maybe did I do something wrong? Should I have gone about it a certain way? But like, you know, the way you've gone about this and your life as a teammate and as a human, that is not even close to who you are. And so on that call, did they give you the ability to speak? And because you shouldn't even have to be able to like rebuttal these kind of things, be like, because obviously it's nonsense, but did they give you the ability to speak and at least have follow-up meetings about how you feel like this was wrong and how this is even hurting your mental health?
No. One of the biggest things, I mean, this whole phone call happened and I did not do well. It was 3 days. I didn't come out of my room. I didn't eat. I didn't really sleep all that much. My parents were pretty worried about me to a point where they reached out to these pros advocates and mental health at the school, and they're like, "Why are you not helping? Like, this is traumatic, and you know we're getting no help over here, and that's your job. That's what you're supposed to do." So that was a really rough time. That ended up never getting addressed with the pros people after time and time again reaching out for help. through multiple people, including the he was the athletic director, assistant athletic director in compliance, I believe. Tried to go through him for some mental health. You know, we spoke our concerns about how pros was not there for me, and I was really struggling, and I got no help, and that was supposed to be addressed, and it never did. And now 2 years later, and I still haven't gotten a call from anybody at pros.
The people that are supposed to be helping out with mental health are creating mental health issues.
Yeah.
That's all that was happening. So, and then this was still during the time where you guys were just having Zoom meetings.
Yes.
Correct? And
Yeah.
so how far away were you to getting back on campus, getting ready for another season?
This was at a time where we still didn't know really when we were going to get to go back. Things were lightening up a little bit in the COVID aspect. I made a trip to Norman to try and get in contact with some of my coaches to kind of, I wanted to understand why this had happened the way it did, and I wanted to, you know, talk to them and say, what's going on? Why is this the way that this happened? And no one's here to help me figure it out, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's next.
Did you have any support from any other teammates that weren't doing it publicly, but they're at least like reaching out to see how you were doing it all?
I had one teammate and one past teammate that had graduated before. So I guess two, and then I had some of my friends from the other sports teams. One of them was my roommate. So I had very little support at the school or from the volleyball team, you know, but I had a lot of people show support on social media. I had there was girls from other Power 5 teams and other sports and even at OU, and they're like, you know, I heard about your story, and you know, I'm really sorry that happened, but thank you for stepping up, because I was too scared to. Mm-hmm. And I had dealt with this for 3 years while I was at my university. And so there was a lot of support, but there was also a lot of negativity, especially from, you know, teammates that I'd been friends with at OU, some dating back like 6 years. So that was really hard. You know, you have 20 best friends on your team, and all but one or two turn their back on you, and to me it was really out of nowhere. So that was really hard. I tried to go back and figure out what was going on, try to get an understanding of why all this happened the way it did, and I had meetings set up with the coaches, and they both bailed. I took 3 hours out of my day to drive up to Norman from Dallas and had everything set up. I was going to go talk to them, see what was going on, and they weren't there to...
Did they give you any sort of reasoning?
Not that I can remember. I think one went away was out of town. Other had a meeting.
So you were feeling just completely neglected by basically everybody that you used to trust, because especially as athletes, you trust your coach. Mm-hmm. They're the leader of the team, and they're someone that you should be able to go to, especially when you're dealing with so many things that are going on in college. It's a tough time in life, and it's a tumultuous time when you're going through COVID. There's race riots going on, and you're trying to understand why all of a sudden you went from a teammate that people respected as a captain to the worst of the worst that should be just thrown to the side. Your teammates are not giving you the time of day, neither are your coaches. So you must have been feeling so alone. And that's when you, once again, we're looking to pros to give you a little bit of help here.
Yeah, and nothing ever turned up with anything or anyone. We had later had to have discussions about, you know, my future at OU or whether that be somewhere else.
So we're going to take a break from this conversation real quick and let you know about some good food that you need in your belly and in your kitchen and in your fridge. Food's a huge part of the sports experience. And what if you could buy the food you need for your watch party and donate to TPUSA without even leaving your home? No way. Now you can with Good Ranchers. They sell 100% American meat, and they believe in so much of what we're doing here at TPUSA, they'll donate $50 to TPUSA on your behalf when you purchase from them. Good Ranchers delivers steakhouse quality beef, chicken, seafood right to your door, and you can use code TPUSA, and they'll donate $50 to our mission while getting absolutely delicious food. Head on over to goodranchers.com/TPUSA today. Ribeyes, New York strips, gourmet burgers, and so much more. Come on, people. Order now with promo code TPUSA, and $50 will be donated to our mission of sharing and preserving true American values, including free speech. Go to goodranchers.com/TPUSA to get a box today. Once again, use promo code TPUSA at goodranchers.com/TPUSA. Do good while you eat good. Now back to our conversation. So it got so bad that they won't even meet with you, but they'll have a meeting about, I don't know if you're the right person for this team anymore. Mm-hmm. And tell me if I'm wrong, but they gave you ultimatums. They basically told you, and I think I have a list of things here. Tell me if these are wrong. Transfer to another university, continue on scholarship as a typical student and not an athlete, or take a redshirt year. You can keep your scholarship and practice apart from the team for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Those were, the three options. And I was, the first time I had heard these, I was in complete shock. I was like, what is going on? Why am I losing my spot on the team? Nobody will tell me what's going on. And I had some Zoom calls, and my parents were on them also, and even they were asking for answers like, why is this happening? Well, I got a few answers, but they were kind of halfway, like not full answers. And my parents were like, what has she done wrong? Why are we in this position? The coach said, oh, well, she knows what she did wrong. But I didn't. My parents didn't. So. Because
during this time too, were you doing some sort of like DEI training that you were forced into even before this ultimatum?
It came with the decision of, I'm going to stay and train and do volleyball apart from the team. So, I had another year of eligibility that I didn't want to throw away. My senior year got taken out from under me, and I still wanted the opportunity to have that, even if it's somewhere else. I had to keep training.
Yep.
So that's what we chose, was to do the training, one-on-one sessions. And so that kind of prompted a growth plan, is what it was considered. I had mandatory...
Like there's something wrong with you or something? Like you're saying you can become a better person, like take these hours and hours of classes.
They specifically told us, even my parents, we have to change her before she goes into the real world. That's a direct quote from my coach. We can't help you once you're out of college, and we can't help you in the real world. So we're trying to make you a better person now before, you go out and in the real world. Well, that was on the discussion with my parents, and sorry. They're like, well, so did my parents do a horrible job of raising me for 21 years? Like, I don't think that's what happened. Like, I am not...
It's a direct attack on them.
Exactly. So, they were upset. We're trying to change you because you need to be a better person. That's a direct shot at my parents, and, they, I think, did a fantastic job raising me for 21 years, and still, but that was hard to hear for me and my parents, obviously. That's pretty triggering to hear that you've done a horrible job raising your child and that we need to change her before, we let her out of OU. So that's where the growth plan came in. I had mandatory Zoom sessions where, actually, I have them right here if I could pull those out.
And then two, knowing that during this time, I know we're going to get into that you're in a lawsuit against the university, the coaches here, and knowing that you want people to know that you have documentation of all these things. These aren't just, this is from what I remember. This is actually verbatim. I have emails. I have voice memos. I have every single one of these things to show that what I have to say is factual.
Right. So, I mean, I have a lot of this binder here. But, you know, I started recording on my phone because I'd be thrown into all these discussions and without knowing what they were about. And, you know, my parents wanted to hear them. And so I have them all on my phone. And it's really hard to try and listen to them and replay them because they're not fun conversations. They're all pretty awful conversations. But we do have those, and I mean, we've got emails here. So this is actually my DEI training. I had 5 online webinars and 5 self-paced modules. The webinars included unlearning classism, unlearning ableism, We Are webinar, unlearning trans and homo negativity, unlearning sexism. And then my self-paced modules included diversity, empathy, and identity, communication, in-group, out-group, microaggressions, culture, intervention skills, calling in and out, having difficult conversations, and then identity, intersectionality, privilege, and race.
And once again, you were the only person that is going through this, or were there other athletes across the campus that had to do this?
I was the only one, unless somebody wanted to do them on their own time. But this was mandatory for me.
Plain and simple, though, what they're saying in these modules, and it was mandatory. You got to get through a certain amount of hours. Here, how long is that?
If I wanted to still be able to practice and train, I needed to get through, all these webinars and all these modules.
And what did those consist of too? Because were those kind of like CRT specifics in there, talking to because basically, plain and simple, what they're calling you is racist, and they're telling you need to unlearn your racism. You have privilege already, and you need to unlearn that privilege, which is talking about classism. So they're basically, even though there isn't racism there from you, they're trying to fight racism with racism. That's how you felt.
Right. And I was also told that I needed to look at myself and recognize my white allergies. And
white allergies?
Yeah. So I still don't know exactly what that means.
Who said that?
My coach said I needed to identify my white allergies.
And also, is your coach white?
Yeah.
I feel like just in this world we live in right now, it's like because at this time you're already going through so much mental gymnastics, trying to figure out, I just came here to play volleyball, had a great time at Oregon State, and then now I just want to win games and have a good time and be successful. And then now I have a coach that I think used to know who I was, and for some reason is conflating every craziness that's going on in the world with me, and they're using a phrase like white allergies. Like, where did that come up? Was that just like in passing? Was that him actually saying like, here's these modules, unlearn your racism and try to figure out these white allergies? Like, what's the Claritin Clear for that? What is this?
I honestly couldn't tell you. It came up when we were having a discussion about moving forward, and I could not tell you. I don't know what really white allergies is, and I don't know why she chose to use that as something that I needed to recognize.
Did you ever have a red flag with your coach at all? Like thinking that like, I don't trust this person as a coach or a person at all? Like where do you think the the switch flipped? Because this seems like there's so many stories that come out about what's going on in college campuses, to where for you, you're a little bit like, I actually can't even believe I'm hearing these phrases and that this is going on. And it's even hard to like wrap your mind around when you're called these names, because it's just absolute nonsense. What do you think the flip of the switch was?
I honestly have no idea. I never had any issues, never sensed anything, was kind of weird or unusual. I don't know where it all came from, honestly, and I had never expected anything to happen the way it did. I had put trust in my coach because, those are kind of the people that look out for you when you're away from your parents, and, those are the people you're around every day. They're your family.
And it's your family trusts coaches. Like, just like any parent trusts a teacher when they're sending their kids off to school growing up. And I know for me, like, I was so like, I hear stories like this, and like, coaches can be so impactful, negatively or positively, in life. Yeah. I know I've definitely had a few coaches. I've never ever had to deal with anything near this at all, but I know my college coaches made such a massive impact on my life, building me up in my character, in my faith. And I felt like I was equipped, like you talk about actually like equipping for life. I felt like what I learned from my coaches in college were monumental. And then when I hear stories like this, like, coaches can tear you apart. And this was every single thing that they were saying, even white allergies, unlearn your racism, unlearn classism. These are just another dagger in the heart to you, when all you should be worrying about is how I can do well in the classroom, do well on the court, be a good person, graduate with honors, and move forward. Right. And,
I took a lot of time every day, every semester in school. I worked really hard. I had good grades, and my last semester at OU before I graduated, I had a 4.0. I got credit from the president of the university saying, congrats on your semester. You got a 4.0. That's amazing academic achievement, and we appreciate that. So it's hard when I'm trying to do good. I'm trying to do good things. I'm trying to, live my life as, a faithful Christian and trying to do everything right. And suddenly it's just all completely just out of nowhere. Just hits you in the face.
Did you get any help from the administration at the top at all? Did you ever feel like I need to escalate it? So you have a president that's telling you, like, Kylie, you're doing a great job in the classroom. Really appreciate your work ethic. You're one of the best scholars on campus. Did you feel like maybe I need to go up there and they can help me out?
Well, we actually had some calls with our assistant athletic director who looked over volleyball specifically, and then we had people from compliance on some of these phone calls, and we had thought that they understood what was going on, but it kind of seemed like as it went on and these conversations over Zoom happened, and picking between all the three options that I have, the ultimatums, they were on all those calls. So they were there and they were aware of what was going on, but, they never said anything, did anything. And then I couldn't get in contact with hardly anybody from the volleyball team, at least. And so I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know who to go to. And it seemed like half of the administration was against me.
Mm-hmm. And then you're getting to a point too where you've worked your whole life to get to where you're at. You're now at OU, you want to find some success here, and you want to finish off your volleyball career in an exceptional way. And it must be so difficult as an athlete at the upper echelon of women's volleyball to feel like, is this how it ends? Like, this has nothing to do with an injury or anything like that, or my eligibility is over. We have people that are taking away my dream to, eventually everyone wants to be a national champion. When you join a Power 5 team like that and you're going to OU, I want to lift that trophy, and I want to go out into the world and feel like I really accomplished everything I wanted to do as a volleyball player. So tell us a little bit more about, feeling like, is my time done with volleyball, or am I just done with OU? Is there any other team that would take me? Because I think that's one of the most impactful parts of your story is there's somewhere else to go, and they're going to take you in with open arms. And you were able to take a place like Ole Miss to the dumps to a tournament appearance.
Yeah, I will say that I struggled, after all this stuff happened at OU, and I thought, what am I going to do? I have no idea, like, who's going to take me? Anyone that's hearing what these other people are saying about me, like, that might not even be true. And it was hard. I didn't know what I was going to do. I got in the portal, and I had to, it was pretty scarce for a while. I got one of my old coaches that I used to play for was at UCLA. She reached out to me, and she's like, we might have something, we'll let you know. And I was like, oh, okay, UCLA, that's like awesome.
Yep.
That ended up not working out, but they directed me to the head coach at Ole Miss. And, she was beyond excited, and I was excited. It was weird going in the portal and not getting any reaction from any coaches. And, it was probably a little weird because of all the COVID transfers and fifth years. And so it was pretty messy, but, it was pretty scarce for me. And then I got in contact with Ole Miss, and I was fired up. This coach was so awesome. She had the energy and the competitiveness that, you look for in a coach.
And didn't think you had white allergies, so that must have been really nice.
Right. We had to have some tough conversations. I had to make them aware of what was going on, and that we have a lawsuit open, and it was hard. And, my teammates finding out, that was hard too, but they had come to know me and know who I am, and they accepted me, and I've built some great friendships and relationships at Ole Miss that I'm so thankful for. In the coaching staff, even, past the coaching staff with our director of ops and trainers and everyone around, it was awesome. I had a fantastic year at Ole Miss, and we actually ended up doing really well after they had a 1-win season the year before. And
they had one win?
They were one in, I believe, 20 something. I don't know. They had one win. But I mean, she got a few other transfers in too, and we made it to the tournament, and
wow,
that was an unbelievable experience. And that's when I was like, this is what I was looking for in a senior year. Like, I'm so grateful that they gave me the opportunity to come here, and they were able to work with me around all this stuff and my past, and all the stuff that happened at OU. It was handled the best that it could have been. Like, they took care of everything. We were always on the same page, never had any problems, and it worked out very well. And some of my best friends, some of my teammates at Ole Miss still keep in touch, and I keep in touch with the coaches too. They were awesome, and it was a fantastic year.
Can you give us some more details about some of the conversations you had with coaches or teammates at Ole Miss? Maybe a couple that were really uplifting, or maybe even difficult, but at least you were able to have a discussion about what happened at OU.
Right. So when I got there, I had to sit down with the coach, and it was, we talked about what had happened, and she was like, we're going to have to be very careful, obviously, about how we kind of go about it. And, that's one of the reasons that I had to hold off on coming here and doing what we really wanted to do, because I respected their program, and I didn't want it to, just be a pile on them. And we came.
You just want to play volleyball.
Exactly. So we came to a good. We got to a good place. You know, we put it all out there, and they were like, you know, you have the right to your opinion. I have the right to mine. And I mean, they told me, they're like, we don't agree with some of the things that you agree with, but that's fine. You know, we are able to compartmentalize. It should have no place in the gym. It has nothing to do with volleyball.
What a concept, right? We can agree to disagree, and let's focus on taking this one-win team to the tournament. Let's find some success.
Yeah, that was actually one of the biggest points that we talked about, because, you know, I was motivated to win. I'm a competitor, and she was the same way. She actually played for the USA Olympic team, the volleyball team. Wow. So she's a very prestigious player, and, you know, we both were like, we want to play volleyball. Like, this is about volleyball, and we're going to train for volleyball, and we're going to win. And that's what we did the whole season. And, you know, if something came up that needed to be addressed, we would address it in private and get it solved. And there was never any, you know, hatred or talking down upon anybody. And it was they were calm conversations that, you know, got work done that needed to be done and to get things figured out. So really good communication.
That's key, I heard, in sports. Is communication is big. But were there maybe even other like students on campus that you had or like new roommates you had conversations with as well? And like maybe you just saw like Ole Miss is going about this in a completely different way. You're just able to live your life. If you want to have conversations about politics, you want to have conversations about race, you know, do that on your own time. Because I always try to tell people, especially on the Breakaway podcast here, there's ways where we can separate the art from the politics. There's plenty of people that, like, especially athletes, I do not care for their politics at all, but I can give them credit where credit's due. Like, everyone always brings up LeBron, or they'll bring up Megan Rapinoe, or they'll bring up, you know, Alex Morgan, or anybody you can really think of. And it's like, well, I can still give them credit for what they do on the court or on the field. Mm-hmm. And here it's just, you're like, Ole Miss, I just like that I'm able to separate these things. I'm here to work hard, become a better volleyball player, and finish off my senior year in a way that I'm really proud of.
Right. And, you know, I had some conversations with some teammates that were a little comfortable, but they were good conversations. And, you know, they might have agreed or disagreed, but they're like, look, you're a good person. Like, I know you, and we're friends. Like, we don't have to let something so crazy get in the way of a friendship that means a lot. And it was just weird how differently everything was handled, you know, including teammates and coaches and staff, and even compliance, you know, had to get involved at Ole Miss, but everything was handled great. I mean, it went smoothly. You know, I got to play, and we got everything figured out.
And a few more questions for you. What do you want people from OU, coaches, ex-teammates, administration, to know about you and your story now that you finally, like, it's not just, once again, from just a news article or news outlet just sharing bits and pieces of this? What do you want them to know from your story and your heart about this entire situation while you're still going through a lawsuit?
I mean, I really would just like some answers. I mean, this has gone on for so long without answers from anyone or anything. You know, I got to share my side of the story, and, you know, maybe that is something that a lot of people didn't know before, and while all this was going on. So this is what happened, and it was hard for me, and it was a pretty traumatic experience. So I don't know. We'll have to see where it goes from here.
Can you give us a few more details about what that looks like and basically how people can support you through this process? Because individual lawsuits, right, with the coach and then her husband as well. What are some of those details and the next steps here?
I mean, we're just kind of waiting to see where this goes in terms of like the court taking handle of it. I want it to be figured out, and I don't want it to be messy, obviously, but it was important that my side of the story is heard because it was silenced and it was overshadowed for a long time, and I think it was important for me to share my experience and how it affected me and why it got to this point.
And most importantly, this is about free speech. Free speech is under attack on college campuses across the country, in people's workplaces, everywhere we can really think of right now. You even bring up aspects they want you to learn about, little microaggressions. Nobody wants to misgender somebody or like call them something that, like, I think there needs to be a lot more grace behind these things. But basically with these conversations, we should be able to agree to disagree. We should be able to have an understanding, like, Coach, why are we going through this documentary? Like, what do you want us to get out of it? Instead of, all right, I feel like there's some things you want me to say, but if I have something on the other side, why do I feel so uncomfortable? And not only uncomfortable, but that I'll get attacked for this kind of stuff. Like, why do you think free speech is under attack on college campuses? And what can you do to encourage other athletes that might be going through similar situations right now?
I mean, I think it's pretty relevant in almost every situation, even not even just on college campuses, but people just don't want to hear what they don't agree with. And, you know, freedom of speech, everyone has the right to say what they want, to their opinion and what they believe is right and wrong, and even if it's not. I mean, it's a tough conversation to have because, you know, I mean, I can't imagine not having free speech. I don't know what that would look like, but it's slowly being taken away from so many people, especially conservatives and people that want to speak out about stuff that's happening, and they just can't because they get reprimanded, they get called names, they get anything you could think of. I mean, people are getting beat up over stuff like this, and it's really hard, but I think it's important conversation to have. And I think that, you know, if people don't start sticking up for free speech or what they believe in, then it's not going to be, they're not going to have it anymore. And that's why I think it's important. You have to let it be known that you're not scared, and you need to say what you believe in. And this is so important in this world today.
If there's one thing or maybe a couple of things you wish you would have done different during this time, that tumultuous time where you're on Zoom calls, when you're having tough conversations with your coaches and your teammates and people are putting you on blast online, is there anything you look back on you think, I wish I would have maybe tried to push this a little bit more or had this kind of conversation? What do you think?
I honestly don't know. I probably would have spoken out more about it and, you know, let it be known that, you know, this is what happened. And it was kind of in the moment, it was also shocking and confusing, and, you know, my head was spinning. I couldn't think straight, but I mean, looking back, is there anything more I could have done to, you know, get the situation figured out, or something else I could have shared that would be helpful, or had more conversations about something would have been nice. So.
And the reason I asked that question too is there's so many times that we're thrown into these hyper-political, hyper-emotional situations right now. And it seemed like already you kind of prepared yourself a little bit to where you look back and you're like, well, I did still speak my mind. Because there's plenty of people that even hit you up online. They're like, you know, thank you for talking about this. Like, I can never do that. So hopefully when people hear a conversation like this, it's like, wow, I don't know if I'd have the courage to do that. I don't know if I would actually have the wherewithal to be able to articulate how I feel about this, no matter what kind of backlash I get. And I feel like that's true courage, It's like it's an extremely uncomfortable situation, but like here's my heart behind this. And if you take that as being racist or homophobic or transphobic, maybe you need to look at yourself in the mirror and realize that you may be the issue here. And I think you finally opening up about your story and being able to focus on volleyball at Ole Miss, have a fantastic season. You deserve a lot of credit for that too, to be able to keep yourself together, because the mental aspect of sports, like we have, as we talk right now, the Masters are just starting. Like one of the toughest sports ever, I think, to stay mentally in tune is golf. But every single sport, you got to be there mentally as well as build up your body physically in order to compete at the highest level. So I hope that people hear this and they realize that, you know, I want to emulate you. I want to be able to talk about these things and know that there is a place to go and there is a way to fight back, because too many people right now, they might just take the Will Smith slap, you know, and then they're just going to keep moving on. But you're putting up a fight here. And talk about finally, as we wrap up here, I got 2 more questions for you. This one is, why is this fight more than just about your situation, but about future players that might be going to OU or even jumping into Division I volleyball or sports that might be thrown into situations like you?
It's just important because you don't really know what you're getting into, and when you're first going to college, you're off on your own. You don't have your parents there with you. You don't have like much guidance, and that's what these people are here for, is to help kind of guide you and be there for you, and kind of, I guess, watch as you grow the 4 years or however long you're there at university. I just think it's important to find people that really care about you and know who those people are, and something that I've been really lucky with is my family. We're all very close, and I had them through this whole situation, which was so helpful. I don't really know what I would have done without them, but there's always people that, if they're your friend, if they really are your friend, then they'll be there for you and they'll help you through it and encourage you, and they'll be on your side. So I think it's important to understand that, but also, you have to go to college and be brave. You're on your own, and you have to stick up for what you believe, and don't let it change you while you're there, And it happens to a lot of people. You go to college and you completely change who you are, and that's fine if you find yourself and this or that, but I don't think anyone should be pressured into changing. I think that can come naturally, and that's what college is for. But you have to be very aware of, what are these conversations we're having? What are these conversations, like, what's the real meaning of why we're doing this, of why we're talking about this? And you just have to be very aware of what's going on, and, stay true to your beliefs and your faith and your life that you've been living. So I think that's important.
Because it comes down to truth. That's all it is I think there's so many times I talk about here on the Breakaway podcast or anything at Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, it's like, what's the truth of the matter? Can we just get down to that? Where it's like, I'm going to watch the documentary here, and like, the truth is, here's what happened with slavery. Nobody likes that atrocity that happened in our history, but can we talk about the reconciliation? Can we talk about where we are now, that we can have all these people from different backgrounds, different races, on different teams and everything? Like, just even look at this campus. Like, I think there's times where it's like, let's just get down to the truth here. And the truth is what a privilege it is just to even be an American. Like, what a privilege it is to live in a free society like this. It's not as free as it should be, clearly, but that's where I think people need to understand. It's like, you want to get to the truth of the matter. And it's not about my truth. It's about the truth. And wrapping up here, what's next? Like, you just wrapped up your senior season with Ole Miss. Once again, had some incredible success there. Are you going to still try to stay in the volleyball scene, or what are you going to do?
As of right now, I am finishing my master's program. I'll be done this semester. I'll be done with that.
Cheers to you. If I had to go to another second of college, my goodness.
Yeah, it's been tough, but it's been good. And then I have an internship. I'm working at a physical therapy office, doing a little bit of marketing there. And then actually next week, I'm starting with a medical marketing firm.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's it's a little bit of travel. So it's a lot of moving around and going to meeting all kinds of people. So I'm pretty excited about that. We'll see where that takes me. As for volleyball, I've been playing sand volleyball for fun. But I'm not sure about getting back into it, kind of the scene yet. Kind of want to wrap some of this up. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I end up back in the scene or somewhere. I'm not sure about that, but I'm looking forward to this marketing opportunity, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think that everything you've gone through, you sound like a kind of person that tries to find some sort of silver lining behind stuff. That like this has been a really crazy time where you're still in this lawsuit, and hopefully everything goes your way and it's able to help out you, your family, and the next generation of volleyball players. But you're going to say, if this molded me into the person I am now, I'm going to continue to be courageous, continue to be a good person, and make a difference in the workforce. And who knows? I kind of hope that you become a volleyball coach later on in life, and you can be an inspiration to little volleyballers out there. And
yeah, that would be pretty fun.
That would be amazing.
I have to look into that.
I'll give you the final word. Is there anything else you want people to know about this while you're going through the process?
Not much, really. I mean, the support, a lot of people don't see that they're sending me messages, they're doing this. I appreciate that so much. I do see it. I'm just trying to fight for that and for everyone that is in sports and college. And so, I don't know. I just, I'm really ready to see how this ends up and where it goes, and super thankful to everyone that's been super encouraging and has been there for me, and
And I hope you feel the encouragement and support from not only the breakaway team, but all of Turning Point USA. We got your back throughout this whole process, and really appreciate you stopping by and giving the full story, because just too often people just don't even want to listen. Clearly, that's what you were dealing with, but hopefully people take the time to listen and watch this and understand where you're coming from. And hopefully you can just close the chapter of this book, move forward, not only individually, but your family and just the rest of everybody involved. So thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Well, we really hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Kylie is fantastic, and we need more stories like this. If you like stories like this, you got to subscribe to us on YouTube. Also hit the bell so you get notified. We're also on Rumble. And for all the listeners out there, just want the audio style? We're on Apple and Spotify. You could subscribe and follow. Leave a 5-star review. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best non-woke sports talk and conversation on the internet. See you guys next time.
Alex, hi. So this is the Politics set?
This is it.
And where exactly is the set located?
It is in Phoenix, Arizona at the fabulous Turning Point headquarters.
And if we go out that door, where will we end up?
We are going to end up at Charlie Kirk's podcast studio for the Charlie Kirk Show.
So clearly you love pink. What's your second favorite color?
Lavender.
Apples or oranges?
Apples, specifically Granny Smith. I hate the texture of soft fruit. I'll suck on an orange and then I'll spit it out.
So ranch dressing or ketchup?
Ketchup? I don't like ranch. Oh, watch your head here.
French fries or waffle fries?
Skinny French fries, like the skinniest, crunchiest that you can get. I hate soggy fries. I always pick them out.
Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out?
Chick-fil-A.
What did you want to be when you were younger?
A storm chaser. I was obsessed with the movie Twister.
Do you play any instruments?
I was actually the only kid in my 4th grade class who could not play the recorder, so I think that answers that question.
All right. Mani or pedi?
Pedicure, because I hate sitting for that long on my butt. Speaking of, let's get out of here. Watch your step.
So, pulp or no pulp?
No pulp. I hate worms in my juice.
You can vacation anywhere in the world right now. Where do you go?
Paris.
You can only be friends with one of these. Cinnamon roll or worm? Which would you choose?
Cinnamon roll, because they're warm and cuddly.
What do you think is one thing people would be very surprised to know about you?
I hate FaceTime. I pretty much only will FaceTime my best friend Lauren, and that's if she's lucky. Look, this is the Turning Point USA live set, and it's John Root.
What's up, Alex?
Hi.
Hey, if I threw this football, could you catch it?
I guess.
It's a good catch. Hey, well, I got you here, though. Tell me this, East Coast or West Coast?
East Coast.
Sum up the conservative movement in 5 words.
Strong, fun, unexpected, brave, and better looking.
I think that's 6, but that's okay. But tell me the best thing about the conservative movement.
We're actually a lot more diverse than the media paints us out to be. Bye, John.
Yeah.
So, Alex, you find yourself in a dark alleyway and a stranger is approaching you. To keep from ending up as your own true crime victim, what would you do?
Well, obviously, I'm carrying, but if I'm not carrying, I'm gonna make as many weird noises and faces as I can to freak them out, and then maybe they don't want to attack me anymore. Kind of like...
Sounds effective. So, sandals or boots?
Boots.
Favorite Taylor Swift song or album?
You Are in Love and Folklore.
Oh, good choices. What would your superpower be?
To read people's minds so I know who's a real one and who's not.
What's your Starbucks order?
A tall strawberry acai refresher with apple juice and extra ice.
You can have dinner with anyone, past or present. Who would you pick?
Tim Dillon.
Worst movie of all time?
The Big Lebowski. I hate that movie.
I think a lot of people would disagree with you on that. Anyway, what's one thing you hope to accomplish in your life?
I want to get married and have lots of babies.
Marry a liberal or be single forever?
I guess marry a liberal.
If you had to play a sport, what would it be?
Ice skating.
And what's one way to fight woke culture?
Never bend a knee to the mob. Oh, I think Emma might be in here. You know Emma, my friend? Let's see. Hi, Emma.
Rom-com or true crime?
True crime, because you know I love spoopy. Bye, Emma.
Bye.
Fun. What's the best place to go get food in Indiana?
Ale Emporium if you want really good wings, but bone in, not boneless, because boneless are basically just soggy chicken nuggets. Oh, this is the Turning Point lobby. This is the front entrance of Turning Point HQ. Look at this beautiful table, squeaky clean. Eee! Oh, and the reception desk. I should come sit back here, see if I fit in.
Alex, what's one thing you loved about growing up in the Midwest?
Well, not much, which is why I left, but I guess if I had to choose, noodles and chili. Oh, look, here's a phone. You think I could be like Pam? Dunder Mifflin, this is Pam.
Very fun. So, speaking of shows, you get cast in Big Little Lies. Are you best friends with Nicole Kidman's character or Reese Witherspoon's?
Well, I am Reese Witherspoon's character in Big Little Lies, so I guess I would be best friends with Nicole Kidman's character.
All right. Here's another one for you. Rap or country music?
Rap, for sure.
Could you rap one line of a song you like?
Okay. Straight out of Compton, crazy mother.
Well, we can't really use any of that, but pretty impressive for a white girl.
Thank you. I actually used to do a segment when I first started in radio called 23 Seconds of White Girl Rapping.
I'll have to look that up later. So, cats or dogs?
Dogs, but specifically ugly chihuahuas.
Lipstick or lip gloss?
Usually lipstick. I do have a lip gloss on today, this Too Faced extreme lip injection stuff, but I hate how sticky gloss can be.
Can you whistle?
I can try.
I don't really think that's whistling, but nice try. So, you never leave the house without...
juice.
What made you want to get into radio?
I wanted to be able to be as weird as I could possibly be and get paid to do it.
Very fun. Were you always interested in politics?
Actually, my earliest memory of debating politics was on the playground in 5th grade.
What's the best advice someone in politics has ever given you?
Be nice to everyone you meet. It's a very small industry. First impressions matter.
What is your favorite memory from YWLS?
Everybody posing in the capitalist Barbie box.
What issue are you most passionate about right now?
Big tech. Oh, look, this is where I usually go to cry. Oh, I guess they don't want me in there anymore. Here.
Oh, how sad.
You hold this.
All right. So TPUSA contributors, they travel a lot. So window seat or aisle?
Aisle.
What's the best gift anyone has ever given you?
A tiny chicken. Oh, this is some extra desks. We've been growing so fast here at Turning Point USA, we've had to put people upstairs. I sit over there. I'll show you that in a minute. But first, I do want to show you my favorite room in Turning Point USA headquarters, the break room. Everybody say hi. So usually there's a lot more snacks in here, but after about 24 hours, everything's eaten up. So, I guess I'll have to come back for you later, baby. Okay, let's go outside.
So, Alex, what is the worst trend of all time?
When people used to pluck all their eyebrows out.
What's something you're most proud of?
Most proud of starting the conservative movement. This is our outside break room, a nice little balcony. But you know what? It is Phoenix, so it's hot as heck out here, so I think we should go back in. And there's no sun. I can't even tan.
How many different types of conservatives can you name in 5 seconds? Go.
Authoritarian, paleo, neoconservative, fiscal. Did I say
5 seconds.
already?
That's 5 seconds. Good job. What's one thing you wish Gen Z knew about life?
That it takes a long time to put in your dues and climb the career ladder. It doesn't happen overnight.
10 years from now, what are you doing?
I hope I am almost done having kids and I'm decorating my big, beautiful house with anything but live, laugh, love crap.
What's the chuggiest thing you've ever seen?
Ray Dunn, and if I ever saw her, I'd put a hex on her.
Colorful pantsuit or tweed dress?
Neither. A 2-piece tweed set.
What's one question you'd love to ask Melania Trump?
Would you still love President Trump if he was a worm?
Do you have any nicknames?
Yes. Actually, my parents call me Grimace, Hoobus Tubus, and Lulu.
Very interesting. Those are really specific names. So where are we at right now? What is this?
Actually, this is where I sit.
I like your desk. It's a little pink, a little messy, but I like it.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is where I sit. I've got my lunchbox. Isabel Brown sits next to me. Oh, actually, my phone's ringing. It's my best friend, Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Hi. Like the sweatshirt.
If you could be a different person for one day, who would you be?
Paris Hilton. Sa-da-sa, 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 sa-da-sa. Okay, bye.
Bye. So what else could you tell us about this space?
This is where I fart.
Which Sex and the City character are you?
Well, I would say Charlotte, but Lauren says Carrie because I'm very irresponsible and she always has to chastise me for decisions that I make.
I mean, what are best friends for, you know?
Yeah, true.
If you could have any talent, what would it be?
To sing well.
Would you rather find a spider crawling on you or a centipede?
Ugh, I have to choose.
Yeah.
Spider.
What's your favorite word?
Booba.
I don't know if that's a real word. So what's it like working with Charlie Kirk?
You have to be ready 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on any moment's notice to fight the culture war.
What do you think about vegans?
Well, they're all right. I feel bad that they're missing out on the meats, but I am dating a vegetarian, not quite a vegan, but close. Step into my haunted elevator. It's gonna get really dark, actually, really quick, so I hope you're ready. This might have ghosts in it.
So you're stuck in an elevator for 12 hours. Would you rather be stuck with Demi Lovato or Michelle Obama?
Ugh, I guess Michelle Obama. Also, shouldn't we establish a pee corner in here?
Wow, I mean, I hope we're not stuck in here that long. Are we stuck? No.
I don't think so. It's about to open.
Okay, good. So, what would the name of your Netflix special be?
It would be I Say What I Want with Alex Clark. Oh, this is the productions department, the rest of it anyway, and I used to sit here.
Who's the best comedian of all time?
Old school Jim Gaffigan, new school Tim Dillon and Megan Stalter. Hi, gang!
You can only buy one thing from Whole Foods for the rest of your life. What would you pick?
The Yamikinu or Yamaniku salmon or whatever that's called, although I don't know if that's for every Whole Foods or if that's just at my Whole Foods in Scottsdale.
You're a teen again. Would you want to guest star on The Amanda Show or Lizzie McGuire?
Oh, Amanda Show for sure. I like eggs.
Who's your celebrity lookalike?
Allie Hilfiger.
Who's the ugliest guy in Hollywood?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Who are two political icons you wish were alive today?
Charles Krauthammer and Rush Limbaugh. Oh, look, we're back at the politics set.
So, Alex, despite the craziness of this year, what are you most hopeful for?
2024.
And is there anything you'd like to say to the cute conservatives to wrap up your 73 questions?
Actually, yes. Make sure you heart this episode. I don't know if I'm doing a really good heart like this with this mic in my hand, but heart this episode, and then I want you to say in the comments, it was the blank for me. So whatever part of the 73 questions that you like the best, say it was the blank for me. Make sure you DM this episode to any of your friends who love politics and hit the save button. Okay, it's pop culture without the propaganda every single day. I'm Alex Clark, and this is Poplitics. Support Poplitics, the first ever conservative pop culture daily show, by subscribing to our channel, turning on notifications, and of course, hitting the thumbs up. Also, our main home is on Instagram. Seriously, just trust me, that's where the real magic happens. Follow us there at Poplitics.